Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto runs the criminal underworld. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Goliith and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Naruto wasn't born with any talent, he had to work hard to earn what he got, I say bull. His father was arguably the strongest shinobi to ever live, and his mother was right up there in the top as well. He had to have got something from them. Not to mention all the connections he inherited from them, i.e. Jiraiya/Tsunade. Despite all of this, he sucks, there is no way about it. Naruto has never been as strong as he needed to be, and has been about as sharp as a box of round rocks. So what if he was born with talent? Real talent, not the BS stuff he inherited from Minato and Kushina. Well, here we go to delve into the world of the child of two missing nin. Uzumaki Naruto was the outlet of Konoha's hatred. Every single person in his village that he had ever met held nothing but contempt for him. He never even knew why. Fortunately for him though, he didn't have to deal with them all too much. He was extremely smart and skilled and could easily escape from the hatred quite often without any trouble. He never knew why he was so good until he found out who his parents were, but that wasn't until he was 14. The instructors at the academy were so blatantly mean to him that they outright refused to teach him directly. They would not answer questions he asked, and would refuse to help him when he asked for help. Naruto wasn't one to go down without a fight though. He was amazingly skillful in the art of stealth, and simply stole the things he needed to succeed in life. He'd steal textbooks and scrolls from the library to study and learn from, and would steal supplies and clothes from stores, all without ever getting caught once. Despite all his efforts though, the teachers specifically made his graduation exam more difficult than anyone else, and after 3 years of consecutive failure, one academy teacher took advantage of him for his own benefit, convincing him that if he stole the village's forbidden scroll and brought it to him, he would graduate from the academy finally. Naruto, going against his instincts, trusted the man and easily swiped the scroll and took it out to the forest outside the village to bring it to the instructor. He should have trusted his instincts though. He never to that day met a person that was outwardly kind to him. Why would they start now? He was greeted with a flurry of kunai, which he dodged to the best of his ability, though took one in the shoulder. The man dropped out of the tree, laughing like a maniac at Naruto's profusely bleeding shoulder, and went on to inform him that his name wasn't even Uzumaki. His parents never even lived in the village. His parents were two of the most dangerous missing nin to walk the earth. His mother was the most skilled assassin that anyone had ever heard of, having become a Jonin at age 13. She had the nickname of Mieze Yoru, Silent Night, because in a single night she assassinated an entire camp of over 75 Chunin to Jonin rank shinobi without making a sound. Her name was Shikoto Kariai. He went on to inform Naruto that his father was just as deadly and feared as his mother was. Kokoshibu, Black Death, was his nickname. Known for his dark jutsus and fearsome killing intent, he was the kind of guy to walk inside a fort full of shinobi and walk out without a scratch after killing everyone. His name was Shikoto Jakali. They were both S-ranked missing nin, and were captured while on vacation while Kariai was pregnant with Naruto. Jakali was publicly executed before the village, and Kariai was killed when the prison's medical ward was destroyed by the Kyuubi just after she gave birth to Naruto. All of that paled in comparison though to the next piece of news he dropped on Naruto, that the Kyuubi, greatest of the 9 Biju, most powerful being to walk the earth, was sealed in him. Mizuki, the malicious instructor who had told him all this, laughed at Naruto's utterly floored expression and detached a huge Fuma shuriken from his back and flung it at Naruto at neck height, hoping to sever the blonde's head. Fortunately, Naruto snapped back to reality at the last possible second and ducked under the huge sharpened weapon, and it whizzed overhead, slamming into a tree behind him. Naruto's eyes widened in shock and he looked at Mizuki as anger started to boil up inside him. He had been lied to his entire life? Even his own name was a lie, and the fact that his parents were citizens of Konoha? Why? Why was he lied to? What did he do to deserve to not even know who his parents were? Because he held some demon at bay, that made him the monster? His eyebrows twitched in anger, and his hands flexed and balled into fists at his side as his right hand moved slowly towards his kunai holster. Mizuki looked at him trembling, in what he thought was fear, and laughed. You think you're gonna get away? I'm gonna kill you and deliver your head on a platter to the village. Naruto's hand twitched and his eyes flicked red for a second, and his pupils lengthened into long slits. Why you all lied to me, and my whole life has been a lie, he finally admitted. Mizuki grinned and pulled out a kunai. Yes. And now, I'm going to kill you, demon. He lunged at Naruto and slashed at his throat, aiming to slice his aorta artery in one go. Naruto blinked his eyes as a tear fell, and when he reopened them, they were blood red with long, slit pupils. His arm moved faster than Mizuki could see and his slash was blocked inches from his throat by Naruto's own kunai. Mizuki looked into Naruto's harsh blood-red eyes and suddenly felt fear like nothing he had since the day the Kyuubi attacked. Naruto spoke with an edgy tone, but a calm demeanor. No, he pressed with his kunai and sent Mizuki stumbling back a few steps with his sudden strength. Naruto threw his kunai at Mizuki as hard as he could as the man stumbled backwards and the blade buried into his abdomen up to the handle. Naruto's eye twitched slightly and he leapt forward at the now doubled over man and slammed the heel of his blue sandal into the handle of the kunai. forcing it all the way into his abdomen to the ring on the end of the handle. The pointed blade of the weapon pierced out of the shinobi's back with a spurt of blood, and Mizuki fell back on the ground cursing and groaning. Naruto looked at Mizuki and his eyes flashed back to blue, though the hatred in them didn't fade. He spoke again, this time his voice laden with hatred and malice. Leave me alone, or I will kill you. He shifted the scroll on his back and disappeared into the dense forest, heading back to the village. He was in deep shit if he didn't get to the Hokage and explain everything to him, even if he didn't like the man. Naruto arrived at the Hokage's office and slipped inside through the window. He had yet to remove the kunai from his shoulder. With all his adrenaline, he didn't even notice the piece of steel jabbing out from his shoulder. The Hokage was sitting in the chair behind his desk and narrowed his eyes at the boy as he climbed into the room. He didn't generally like the boy. He was the son of 2 infamous murderers after all. What exactly did you do with the village's most important scroll? He asked. He noticed the kunai in his shoulder and was curious, but didn't mention it. Naruto knew now was not the time to be pissed about being lied to about his parents and bowed to the Hokage. I apologize, Hokage-sama. Mizuki-sensei from the academy informed me that if I was successful in taking the forbidden scroll without being caught, I would graduate from the academy. I was merely doing what he told me to. I'm sorry. The Hokage sat at his desk for a moment before closing his eyes slowly, then reopening them. You are not at fault. You were bribed and misled. You had no idea that what you were doing was wrong. I can't punish you for that. Naruto's eyes widened in stunned surprise. Was he actually siding with him? Really? You mean I'm not in trouble? The Hokage nodded. No, you're not. In fact, I believe you succeeded in your task, meaning you graduated from the academy. Naruto's jaw dropped. He was fully expecting to at least need to go to the academy for another year, huh? How? The Hokage smirked ever so slightly. Mizuki is an instructor at the academy. If they choose, they can offer a student an alternate way to pass the exams if they are not able to pass the standard exams. Mizuki gave you this challenge, and you passed, even if it is illegal, so you pass. You're free to go. By the way, be at the academy tomorrow morning. Don't be late. I'll deal with Mizuki. Naruto nodded and bowed deeply. High. Thank you, Hokage-sama. He placed the scroll on the Sandame's desk and quickly left the building. Naruto went home to think about everything he learned that day, who his parents were, who he was, and what he contained, and what that made him. The next morning came and Naruto didn't get any sleep, and he still wasn't sure where he stood. His real name wasn't Uzumaki, but as far as everyone in the village was concerned, it was. Should he switch to his parents' name? He never even told the Hokage that he knew of his past. Who did know about his past? Was he the only one that didn't? He had too many questions without answers. What he did know was that he was done trusting anyone. Never again would he trust someone easily. With his mind made up, he got ready for the day and realized that his horribly orange jumpsuit still had the hole and blood stain on it. He sighed. He wouldn't be able to steal something new until later. He pushed the thought to the back of his mind and got dressed and headed for the academy. At least he was going somewhere in life now that he graduated. He ignored the usual glares and comments that the villagers sent his way on the way to the academy. Naruto made it to the academy a long time before anyone else had, as was his custom. He quickly made himself comfortable at the bottom of a tree across the schoolyard and settled in to watch everyone as they came for the day. He may dislike people, but he never tired of simply watching them and learning all their quirks. Naruto watched as one by one all the students arrived at the academy and went into the classroom. When everyone was there, he got up from his spot under the tree and walked into the classroom and took his usual seat in the far right corner, far away from all the other students. He was not to be left alone though. Within a moment of him taking his seat, a boy in a large gray coat came up to him. Kiba, if Naruto remembered correctly. Hey, dead last. Only those who passed the exams are supposed to be here today, or did your simple mind forget already? Naruto looked at him impassively and merely leaned back into his seat. Well, I'm here, aren't I? Leave me alone, mutt. Kiba's eyes narrowed and his face contorted in anger. He grabbed the collar of Naruto's jacket and yanked him up into his face. What the hell did you just say, dead last? Maybe I should teach you a lesson. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly at Kiba and sent a concentrated spike of killing intent at him. Kiba, who had never experienced killing intent, released Naruto and stepped back in surprise. Naruto merely smirked slightly and leaned back in his seat once again. Kiba stepped back away from Naruto with a nervous and slightly scared look and quickly turned and went for his own seat without saying a word. Everyone else in the room turned back around and faced the front of the room, no longer interested, and just in time as their instructor walked in the door. Iruka walked in the door and looked about his class, which was surprisingly quiet. His eyes suddenly fell upon Naruto, sitting in the back right corner. What the hell? Uzumaki, what are you doing here? You failed the exam. Naruto smirked faintly. Mizuki-sensei was so kind as to give me an alternative exam, which I passed. If you need confirmation, you can ask the Hokage. He sent me here. Iruka narrowed his eyes slightly and nodded. Fine then, you can stay for now. I'll ask the Hokage about it later. Moving right along, I'm going to announce the teams you'll all be a part of. These teams are non-negotiable. Starting with Team 7, we have Harino Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and Taha Shirikatsu, under Jonin Sensei Hatake Kakashi. Team 8 will consist of Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba, and Aburame Shino, under Jonin-sensei Yohei Kurinai. Team 9 is still in rotation from last year. Team 10 will have Nara Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino, and Akimichi Tsuji, under Jonin Saratobi Asuma as sensei. Well, you've got your teams. Your sensei will be here shortly to pick you up for your team meetings. He was interrupted by Naruto though. What gives? You didn't put me on a team. Iruka narrowed his eyes at Naruto. These teams were already pre-made based on the graduating genin. You'll have to talk to the Hokage about a team. I've got no team to put you with. As if on cue, the classroom door slid open and a woman walked in. She had medium-length plum purple hair, pulled up into a spiky ponytail. What she was wearing could not be called appropriate. She had on a mid-thigh length tan trench coat which was left open. She had no clothing on beneath said trench coat save for a fishnet bodysuit and a short tan miniskirt. Needless to say, her clothing left little to the imagination. Iruka's eyes widened as she walked into the room. Anko? What are you doing here? The plum-haired woman ignored Iruka and looked at the genin before her. Uzumaki Naruto, she commanded. Naruto tilted his head to the side slightly, before asking in a bored voice, what? Anko smirked slightly. Come with me. Naruto groaned, why should I? Her smirk grew at his attitude. Are you going to disobey your sensei? Get the hell down here before I make you regret it. Naruto's head shot up and he nearly jumped out of his seat and made his way down to the front of the room and stood before Anko. Meet me at training ground 36 in 10 minutes, she ordered, and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto's gaze fell slightly. A speed test? Does she really expect a genin to be able to cross the entire village in 10 minutes? Good thing I'm not normal. He channeled chakra to his legs and took off out of the room, ignoring the floored genin behind him. Naruto made it across the village and to training ground 36 with 5 minutes to spare. He walked up to Anko, not even breathing heavily. Okay, I'm here. Now what? Anko hid her surprise well at his speed. Well, aren't you fast? I didn't expect you to even make it in the 10 minutes. The majority of genins couldn't. Naruto smirked slightly at the praise. Well, I'm not the majority of genins. So you're my sensei? Who's my teammates? Anko grinned. You don't have any. You're my apprentice, you're all mine. Naruto's smirk grew. So, I don't have any teammates. Anko shook her head. No one else? You're gonna be training only me? Anko nodded and Naruto's eyes lit up. Sweet. I never wanted to be on a team. He suddenly remembered the promise he made to himself just earlier that day and his smile faded. How can I trust you? Why should I believe you? Anko raised an eyebrow at his sudden change in attitude and noticed the bloody hole in his jumpsuit. Hey, what happened to your shoulder? Naruto looked down at the bloodstain and looked back up at Anko. The last person I trusted. Anko's eyes widened slightly. Really now? What exactly happened? Naruto sighed. I guess the Hokage didn't tell you much then. Mizuki-sensei got me to steal the forbidden scroll from the Hokage tower, then tried to kill me, threw a bunch of kunai at me and tried to cut my head off. Anko's eyes widened slightly further. Why the hell would he try to kill you? Naruto looked at Anko like she was stupid. Why do you think he would try to kill me? For the same reason that everyone else has, the Kyuubi. Anko stepped back in surprise. Well, how do you know about that? Naruto smirked faintly. Mizuki-sensei told me. Guess he wanted me to know what I was before killing me. Anko sighed. So, you know about that? Well, it sure makes things simpler. You stole the forbidden scroll, and without getting caught? You have any other experience with stealth? Naruto shrugged. I may, but I can't tell you about it or I'd get in trouble. Anko's eye twitched in frustration. I'm your sensei, not the police. Tell me or I'll report you because I know you did something illegal. Naruto sighed. Well, no one in the village lets me buy anything, or gives me what I need, so I steal everything I need. Clothes, food, supplies, tools, books, everything. So I guess you can say yeah, I have a good amount of experience in stealth. Anko grinned. Now, was that so hard? Naruto shook his head. Well, I was going to give you a test to see if you were suited to learn from me, but seeing as you stole the village's most prized scroll without getting caught, I guess I don't have to do that, so I guess we'll just get down to business. Naruto smiled slightly. So, we're gonna start doing real missions? Anko laughed. Hell no. You aren't ready for a real mission yet, and I sure as hell am not going to deal with any D-rank play missions. I'm going to train you my way. How to fight and kill. I'm gonna make you into an assassin. Plain and simple. Then when you're ready, we'll start some real missions. Naruto smiled once again. You're going to train me for real? Anko smirked. How many times do I have to tell you I'm your sensei before you believe me? I could give a damn if you trust anyone else in the village, but you sure as hell better trust me. Naruto flinched slightly at her tone. He'd never had someone even try to command him like she was. Maybe, just maybe, she could be trusted. Only time would tell, but he'd give her a chance. So, Anko-sensei. What's first? All emotion left Anko's face in an instant, and she leaned in close to him. Call me sensei again. And you won't live to regret it. She leaned back and smiled brightly again. For starters, tell me a little about yourself, and for the love of God, get a different set of clothes. You won't be sneaking up on anyone in orange. Naruto nodded. Well, there's not much to say. I guess I hate everyone in this village. I like training and stealing, not much else about me. Anko grinned. Fabulous. Looks like you will take to my teachings perfectly. When she didn't say anything more, Naruto raised an eyebrow at her. Are you going to tell me anything about yourself? He asked. Anko smirked. So, you want to know about me? Alright. I too hate most of the people in this village, along with those who use a child to gain something. I like dango and a good bottle of sake, along with toying with people, and I'm the second in command of Konoha's interrogation squad, and ex-head of Konoha's assassination corps. Naruto's eyes widened. Damn, the interrogation squad and the assassination corps? I don't know if I should be eager or nervous. Anko giggled at his stunned expression and ruffled his spiky hair, startling him. Well, meet me here again tomorrow, 8 in the morning, and bring some new clothes. I don't care how you get them. Naruto nodded one last time and watched as Anko walked off towards where her home must reside. Later that night Naruto broke into one of the many stores in Konoha and was going through the clothes when he remembered what Anko said. I'm gonna make you into an assassin, so I should get dark colors, I guess. Blending in with the night and all that fun stuff, he went through all of the racks of clothes and eventually picked out all of the clothing he thought would work well with him, and left the store as discreetly as he had entered and went home to get some rest. The next morning came and Naruto went through his normal morning routine, finishing with getting dressed into his new clothes. Once he was fully dressed, he stood in front of the cracked mirror in his bathroom and looked at himself. I think black just might be my new favorite color. It definitely looks good. He was wearing standard black shinobi pants, with multiple pockets to store things, black shinobi sandals, a dark red t-shirt, and a black ankle-length hooded cloak and dark red fingerless gloves. With his clothing all on, and all of his morning activities finished, he grabbed his hatide off his table, tied it around his bicep, and went out the door towards training ground 36. Naruto got to the training ground and was blown aback to find Anko already there, leaning against the tree, chewing on what looked to be the remnants of a stick of dango. She's already here? I left my apartment at 7:30, there's no way it's 8 yet. That means she's early, which means she's interested. Anko looked up from the stick she was chewing on and saw the black-clad Naruto walking up to her, and her eyes widened slightly and a pleased grin soon followed. Wow, you sure changed since yesterday. I gotta say, you look dangerous, and that's a good thing. Naruto smirked. Yeah, well, I needed a new set of clothes anyway. So, Sen's Anko, what are we going to be doing today? Anko grinned wickedly. First, I'm going to see where your skills lie as of now, then I'm going to show you how to improve in those skills. Then maybe I'll teach you something new later on. Naruto's eyes lit up with excitement. Cool, what do I have to do? Anko smirked. For starters, you're gonna hide from me for as long as you can, anywhere within the training ground and the woods surrounding it. Then I'll tell you what you can do better. Then later you're gonna hunt me down, and try to take me out. Naruto smirked. So, I've got to hide from you. Anko nodded. Alright then, see ya. He crouched down and shot off into the woods at a speed that startled Anko. Damn, he's fast, way faster than any genin I've ever seen. She gave him a 5-minute head start before she started looking for him. He's good at covering his tracks. She sighed, but damn, his chakra signal is like a flare in the dark. She followed his massive chakra signature at a leisurely stroll and walked right up to the bush he was hiding in. Gaki. Naruto huffed and pushed up out of the bush. How'd you find me so easily? I was sure I covered my tracks well. Anko chuckled. True, you're very skilled at hiding your tracks, incredibly so. You didn't leave any evidence at all. Your chakra though, I'm going to have to teach you how to mask it. You're too easy to track down if the person has any experience at all with detecting chakra. Naruto looked up to Anko with curiosity and determination burning in his eyes. So, how do I conceal my chakra then? Anko grinned brightly. All in due time, my little fox. I'll show you how later. For now it's your turn to hunt me down, and to attack me if you can find me. She took a step back from Naruto and jumped up into a tree, then turned and sprinted off into the trees. Naruto copied Anko and waited 5 minutes before beginning to look for her. He pushed some chakra to his nose and sniffed the air. Well, she smells heavily of dango. That's for sure. He quickly started to follow her scent, and when it started to get stronger he stopped sending chakra to his nose. I'll never sneak up on her if she can sense my chakra so easily. How do I hide it? He thought for a few moments before deciding that maybe if he repressed his chakra as much as he could, it would conceal him. He closed his eyes for a second and concentrated on his chakra and withdrew as much of it as he could until there was almost none circulating through his body. He suddenly felt weaker than normal, though not by too much. He sent a tiny amount of chakra to his nose once again and continued to track Anko's scent trail, utilizing all his skill to keep silent. He eventually got close enough where he could sense her chakra and completely shut off his own chakra from his nose to hopefully make himself completely undetectable. He silently scaled a tree and moved out onto a thick branch and moved directly above Anko, who was lounging at the bottom of the tree, fingering the blade of a kunai. Naruto slipped one hand into his kunai pouch and grabbed a kunai, and grabbed a handful of shuriken with the other hand. It was by pure chance that Anko looked up into the tree above her and spotted the black-clad genin, poised to strike. Her eyes widened and she rolled out of the way to the side just as a handful of shuriken buried into the dirt where she had just resided. Damn! She yelled as she pulled her kunai up into a defensive position, just as Naruto dove off the branch and flew at her with his kunai poised to kill. Their kunais clashed with a flash of sparks and Anko had to step back to handle the force of his momentum. Naruto spun around and whipped out another kunai and went for her neck. She brought up her arm and blocked the strike with her forearm and swept Naruto's leg out from under him. Naruto went to catch himself on his hand when Anko swept it out from under him as well. He landed flat on his back and Anko pressed her kunai to his throat. A second later she pulled the kunai away and hauled him to his feet. That was good, damn good. How the hell did you track me so well? Also, I thought you couldn't conceal your chakra signature. Naruto shrugged. I just followed your scent. Also, I couldn't conceal my chakra. I just figured if I locked it away, then it would be hard to sense it. Anko gaped. You just figured it out? Naruto shrugged again. Yeah. Is that anything special? Anko grinned. You have no idea. I've never heard of someone just figuring out how to conceal their chakra. Everyone is always taught it. You, my yellow-haired friend, are gonna go far if given the time and training. Naruto smiled. Thanks, Anko. You said that you would tell me what I can do to improve, so what can I do? Anko smirked. Well, I didn't see anything concerning your skills that need improving. You're too damn good to be a genin. The only thing that needs improvement is your fighting style. You just need more practice and a bit of advice. Lucky for you, we have a whole day with nothing to do, and I know how to fight. Naruto's eyes lit up. You mean? Anko nodded. Yeah, I'll help you fight better for the rest of the day. Naruto smiled. Thanks. Anko pulled out a kunai and grinned wickedly. Get ready to get your ass kicked then. Naruto paled and pulled a kunai out, and Anko lunged at him. Time for defense. Chapter 2, Enter Yoriyage. Naruto walked up to his door and jammed the key into the lock and walked inside. He tossed his newly ripped cloak onto the table in the kitchen and kicked his sandals off by the door. Damn, she is one crazy woman. He looked down at the cuts in his shirt and sighed and pulled it over his head and tossed it on the couch. I'm glad I took more than just one set of new clothes from that store. He slipped out of his pants and collapsed onto his bed in his boxers and passed out. Naruto arrived at the training ground early again the next morning, and Anko was once again already there waiting for him. Sleep well? She asked as he walked up. Naruto smirked. Thanks to you. Yeah, I did. Anko grinned. Good. I hope you're well rested, because today we're gonna see just how much chakra you've got in that little body of yours. Naruto raised an eyebrow and questioned. How do we do that? Anko grinned. Well, you know how you locked away your chakra to conceal it? Naruto nodded. Well, now you're going to expel it all. Force it out of your body through your tenketsu. Just don't expel every drop. If you dowel, you'll die. Naruto's eyes widened slightly. So, I just pushed the chakra out then? Anko nodded and took a step back. Alright then, here I go I guess. Naruto closed his eyes and focused on his chakra once again, but this time he focused on shoving it out of his body. He forced the chakra as hard as he could out of all of his tenketsu. He opened his eyes once he had it under control and looked about, and was shocked to find that he was glowing blue. He was expelling so much chakra, so quickly, that he was actually glowing. Anko watched on. This boy was just one surprise after another. She'd never seen chakra that was visible before except for Kakashi's Chidori technique. Naruto continued to glow a bright blue for over 5 minutes, further amazing Anko. She herself could only maintain a chakra purge for about 45 seconds before she would be on empty. Naruto stopped purging chakra at 5 minutes and 34 seconds, and promptly passed out. Anko chuckled and scooped up his unconscious body and headed for his apartment. Well, he sure has a ton of chakra. Guess he deserves the rest of the day off. Anko had just placed Naruto on his bed and was about to turn for his door when she saw what looked like a wisp of black chakra come off of him. What the hell was that? She asked herself. Better stick around for a while. Never know what the QB could do to a case of chakra exhaustion. She sat down on his couch and waited. Naruto opened his eyes and looked about. What the hell? Where am I? It was pitch black and he was sitting in ankle-deep water. Naruto looked around. The place was in shambles. It had to be decades old. Pieces were missing off the walls, and they were covered in cracks and splits. There was 3 things that were in pristine condition. A set of pipes running along the ceiling. There was 3 pipes. One was blue, but it was so faint that it looked empty. The second was a pipe filled with something of pure black essence. Finally, there was a third pipe, filled with a red substance. The black essence from the second pipe was leaching into the red pipe, and it was turning the red essence black. Naruto decided nothing better could be done, so he followed the pipes out of the room and down a very long corridor. He continued to follow the pipes until he heard an extraordinarily deep growl, followed by the sounds of a struggle. He quickened his pace and sprinted towards the sounds of the fighting. The hallway he was running down suddenly opened up into a humongous room. It had to be over 600 feet wide, and he couldn't even see the ceiling. What caught his attention, though, were the massive bars on one side of the room, or more precisely, what was beyond the cage. On the opposite side of the cage was a gigantic fox, that had to be over 150 feet tall, and over 300 feet long, not to mention the 9 tails, each over 80 feet long. It was weird though, the fox was fighting something. Naruto walked in the room right as a gigantic wave of darkness clashed with the fox, and sent it reeling backwards. The wave of darkness crashed into the giant fox again, and the fox let out a deafening roar that sent Naruto to his knees. Naruto watched on in amazement as the 2 giant forces continued to clash, and eventually the giant wave overwhelmed the fox and it was coated in darkness. A moment later the giant wave receded into the darkness of the cage, and the fox was left lying on the cage of the floor. Minutes passed, and eventually the fox opened its eyes, but they weren't the burning crimson that they were just minutes earlier. They were a completely blank gray. They still had slit pupils, but they were left gray and lifeless. Its eyes snapped around in the darkness before locking onto Naruto, and the giant fox growled, "How I wish I could kill you, you irritating whelp." Naruto's eyes widened slightly at the fox's ability to speak, something he wasn't expecting. What the hell is going on here? Where the hell am I? And what the hell just happened here? He yelled. The fox growled again, "We're in your mind, fool. All I know is that your father was part of some clan or something. This darkness that runs through your veins is most assuredly not human. Naruto's eyes widened. You mean there's more than just you inside me? Just what the hell does this stuff do? The fox narrowed its eyes at him. How should I know? All I know is that it's completely drained me of my chakra, and has stripped my effect on it. My only guess could be that it's given you control of my chakra, you insolent human. Naruto's eyes widened once again. You mean I have control over your chakra? All that power? The fox growled. As much as I hate to admit it, yes, this powering you has eaten my strength and given it to you. Your only hope is to find out more information about your family, find out everything about your father, and his godforsaken heritage. Naruto nodded hesitantly. Okay, how do I get back to the real world? The fox grinned and slowly stood to its paws. Come closer, I'll send you back. Naruto shrugged and walked up to the bars of the cage. Before he even saw the giant fox move, it rammed its paw between the bars and bisected Naruto with its claws, and Naruto faded from existence. Naruto groaned and opened his eyes once again. Being bisected was definitely not a good feeling. He looked around and was quite surprised to find himself in his bed, but was even more surprised to find Anko sitting on his couch. What are we doing in my house? He asked. Anko smirked. Well, when you passed out after burning all your chakra, I brought you here, then some black stuff that looked kind of like chakra came off of you, so I stayed around to watch after you, in case the fox tried anything. Naruto's eyes widened slightly. Well, thanks. I'm still not entirely sure what happened, but the Kyuubi spoke to me. It said that something in me overwhelmed him and literally ate all of its chakra and gave it to me. Said it has to do with my father. Anko cringed. His father? Does he know who that is? So what, you control the Kyuubi's power now? Naruto shook his head. No, I think it's my power now. Anko grinned wickedly. Really now? I guess you'll just have to give me a demonstration. Naruto paled. I don't even know how to use it. Plus not here. I don't know what this power can do. Anko's grin only widened. I know just the place we can go where no one will interrupt or care if things get crazy. We can go there. Naruto sighed. Could this wait till tomorrow? I have like no chakra, and I'm tired. Anko pouted. Fine, tomorrow, ground 36-7, I'll see you then. Naruto paled. 7? Why can't we just meet at 8? Anko grinned once again. Because I want to see just what this power of yours is, and what you're capable of when using it. Naruto groaned. Fine, I'll see you there. Now please let me sleep. Anko nodded and turned for the door. See you there, my little fox. She quickly grabbed the doorknob and left his apartment, leaving him in silence. Naruto lay back down on his bed and sighed. Why the hell does she keep calling me a fox? He shrugged to himself and nodded off into sleep once more. The next morning came and Naruto woke earlier than normal and got dressed into a fresh set of his clothes. He quickly scarfed down some food and hopped out his window and headed for training ground 36. He arrived with 10 minutes to spare, and yet again Anko was already there waiting for him. Do you even sleep? You're always here before me, and I'm always early. Anko grinned devilishly. Guess I'm just excited to see what my pupil is capable of. So, let's get going. Follow me. I'll show you where we'll be training from now on. Naruto shrugged and followed after her when she took off. After running for about 4 minutes, Anko stopped at a large fence. It had to be over 20 feet tall, and had signs attached all over it, clearly stating danger. Forest of Death. Anko turned around and grinned at Naruto. Welcome to training ground number 44. Better known as the Forest of Death. We'll be training in here from now on. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Okay, just to clarify things, this is the Forest of Death. Any particular reason for that? Anko's eyes glinted in the morning sun with something not quite sane. It's called that because the danger that resides herein, animals much larger than you are, centipedes over 10 feet long, and other cuddly fluffies. Naruto's eyes widened. Alright, so why exactly are we going in there to train then? Anko's grin widened. Okay, come on, don't tell me you're afraid of a couple little animals. They're nothing for someone of your skill, plus no one ever comes in here but me. No one will ever interfere with us, or see you using your power. Not to mention, once you're around the animals for a while, they'll understand you're not something to be trifled with. Now follow me. We're gonna be heading into the denser section. She turned back around towards the fence and glanced one more time back at Naruto before smirking and jumping up to the top of the fence and over into the forest. Naruto quickly followed her. As they jumped through the dense forest, Naruto looked on, amazed, at the size of these trees. Some were well over 70 feet thick and hundreds of feet tall. They ran through the forest for about 5 minutes before Anko finally stopped in a clearing about 80 feet in diameter. She quickly turned to Naruto and smiled. Alright. Let that power of yours out, and show me what you're capable of. Naruto furrowed his brow in concentration. Give me a minute. I don't exactly know how this all works. Anko shrugged and took a few steps back and leaned against the tree trunk, leaving Naruto to his thing. Naruto looked down inside himself once again, and recalling the sight from inside his mind looked for the 3 chakras in him. He found his own blue chakra easy enough, then found a tiny amount of red chakra, which was constantly being reduced. Finally, he found the elusive 3rd chakra. He found it surprising how hard it was to find, because the amount that he felt once he found it was amazing. But it had almost no signature, he couldn't sense it at all. He copied what he would normally do to channel his chakra and latched onto the black chakra mentally and drew it out from his center and pulled it to every inch of his being. He was astounded by the sudden explosion of power and strength he felt when the chakra began to flow throughout him. He heard Anko gasp and opened his eyes to see what happened. He looked around, but couldn't see what caused her to gasp, that is until he looked down at himself. His entire being was encased in the black chakra, which in itself seemed to devour all light. The chakra seemed to have formed a body around him, which reacted perfectly to his own movements. His fingers had turned into 6-inch-long talons of darkness, which flexed when he moved his fingers. His arms were longer and thicker, his feet elongated greatly and his toes turned into 3-inch-long talons themselves. His legs had also changed, to be more suited for walking on 4 limbs. His back arched out more and his entire torso seemed to have lengthened and became more animalistic, and his chest was more pronounced. His neck was much thicker and his head was something akin to a wolf's, but his ears were long, almost a foot long, and pointy. Finally, his eyes were pure white and lifeless. Then the only thing not black about him was a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth, ready to rip flesh to pieces. Lastly, was the single black tail, waving lazily about behind him, about 3 feet in length. Think werewolf, more or less. In total, he stood about 8.5 feet tall, while hunched, and looked like some demon sent straight from hell. He looked at Anko and was surprised to find her looking actually fearful for the first time he'd ever seen. He reached out with an enormous stallone hand and spoke in a chillingly deep voice. Anko, it's still me, Naruto. The fear in her eyes suddenly flashed away and she shook her head before realization dawned on her. Yoriyaju, night beast, she breathlessly spoke. Naruto cocked his large head to the side. Yoriyaju? He repeated. Anko sighed. The Yoriyaju is a mythical beast that was said to have ancient ties to the human world. It was said to be connected to an ancient clan thousands of years ago, but I've never read what clan it was supposed to be. I've seen paintings of what they're supposed to look like, and well, you look almost exactly like one. Naruto shrugged his massive shoulders and dropped down onto all fours on the ground, shaking the ground slightly. So, I'm a beast of mythical stories, now what do we do? Anko grinned. Well, we're gonna see what you're capable of course. You seem to almost absorb light, so you have the ability to be about as stealthy as possible. We just have to train you to be silent and swift when you're so huge and heavy. For now, let's see how strong you are. She looked around the clearing and found a tree that was about 10 feet thick. Hit that tree as hard as you can, she said, while pointing to the tree. Naruto walked over to the huge tree and placed one giant hand on the bark, before standing up on his legs and rearing back and slamming his open paw into the tree, and nothing happened for a second. Then a gigantic crack resounded through the clearing and the spot where he punched exploded into splinters and the tree slowly crashed into the other trees of the forest. Anko's jaw dropped at the display of strength. She was expecting him to fail, she just wanted to see what he would do to the tree. Well, you're definitely strong. Next, let's see what kind of abuse you can take. Don't try to dodge or stop this kunai. She flicked a kunai out of the sleeve of her trench coat and grasped it firmly, before flinging it at Naruto's chest with great force. Naruto expected there to be at least some pain, but all he felt was the impact of the weight of the kunai, no pain at all. A second later the kunai was absorbed into the black body of Naruto, and he could sense its presence and location. He focused on it, and tried to move it, and was surprised when he felt it moving about inside of his body. He focused on it and forced it to move down his arm and had it come back out in his hand, which he held out to Anko, who looked on, slack-jawed once again. So, you're incredibly strong and apparently quite resistant to damage. Anko nodded to herself after thinking for a moment. Well, it seems that this power of yours is going to be quite helpful for you. From here on out I'm going to teach you to fight in this form, how to be stealthy like this, and how to kill like this. Naruto's gray eyes widened slightly. Wait, what about when I'm not in this form? I can't just walk around in everyday life like this, you still need to train me to fight regularly. Anko grinned. We'll adapt this fighting style to regular use too. It will be much easier to create and use one fighting style, rather than 2 different ones. We'll make you some custom pieces of gear so that the moves will be viable as a human. Naruto shrugged his huge shoulders. Okay, let's just get training. I have a feeling that this will be fun. Chapter 3. 2 months flew by in literally no time at all for Naruto and Anko. They spent every day, sun up to sundown, training in the forest of death with his newly discovered form. Anko was correct in that a short time, incredibly so for Naruto, no animals dared to mess with him. Naruto was incredibly bright, and learned very quickly when taught properly. He flourished under Anko's guided hand and made phenomenal progress over the 2 months. He was a master of stealth, even with his huge size, able to slide along the ground without making a sound, and he had the added bonus of leaving no scent trail, and the chakra was nearly undetectable. He could scale trees at incredibly high speeds and was incredibly agile. As Anko had dubbed the night before, he was ready for missions. Naruto met Anko at their new meeting spot, outside of Training Ground 44, and the two made their way to the Hokage Tower to pick up their first mission as a team. Naruto's wardrobe had since changed a bit. His sandals had been replaced with boots with 3 razor-sharp claws at the front. He also had made custom pieces that attached to his arms and gloves that extended long 5-inch claws. He had adapted the use of his claws for the fighting style, even as a human. While they were heading for the tower, Anko turned her head to him. Naruto, be clear on this fact. On our missions, I am not your sensei, we are partners. Your skill is far above any genin, and most chunins. Hell, you could probably take down a good portion of the Jonin in this village. As such, I won't be covering your ass or pampering you. We watch each other's backs like any team, am I clear? Naruto nodded. Naruto learned a good deal about Anko over the period that they trained together. For one, she was quite the fun person to be around, assuming you could take her personality. And she was also not the person to lie to or deceive, and when she was serious, you better take her seriously. I think I like the sound of being partners. Definitely sounds better than brat, gaki, or little fox. Anko chuckled. You'll always be my little fox, even if you grow taller than me. Naruto frowned. Damn it, here I thought you might have stopped calling me that. Anko grinned. Nope, she looked ahead. We're here. Let's go down to street level. Naruto nodded and the two jumped down into the streets from the roof they were on and they slowed to a casual walk. They entered the Hokage tower and quickly climbed the stairs and walked up to his office, both ignoring the secretary that glared at them. Anko knocked on the door and waited a moment before opening the door upon receiving the okay from the Hokage. Anko pushed the door open and she and Naruto walked into the office side by side, determined grins on their faces. Sarutobi was quite surprised to see the two of them in his office. They never reported for a mission for over 2 months. He was actually quite curious of what they were up to, but neither was ever home to question. Anko, I was beginning to wonder if you would ever show up to take a mission. Are you finally ready to start on some missions? He asked, ignoring Naruto's clothes and presents. Anko grinned brighter. Yeah, we've been training and practicing. We're finally ready for some good old-fashioned fun. What do you got for B-rank missions? Sarutobi took a sharp inhale on his pipe and coughed out a cloud of smoke. Excuse me? Did you just ask for a B-rank mission as your first mission? Anko's grin only brightened further. Yep. I've been training Naruto since the day he graduated for this moment. He's been fully aware that we weren't going to be taking any D-rank missions. Sarutobi looked over to Naruto, who was grinning as well. I highly suggest you reconsider taking him on such a mission, Anko-san. Anko sighed. With all due respect, Hokage-sama, I know him better than you do, and I know what he's capable of and ready for, and believe me, he's more than ready for this. Sarutobi sighed. Fine, Anko, but if anything happens, it's all on you. Anko nodded and smiled. Hi, Hokage-sama. So what do you have for B-ranks? Sarutobi sighed and flipped through the pile of documents on his desk. We don't have many missions at this precise time. What with the time of year at ice? In fact, we don't have any B-rank missions at this moment. There's 2 A ranks, 6 C ranks, and 38 D ranks. You'll have to settle for a C rank. Naruto sighed and lowered his head, and Anko looked over to him and only smiled. No, I think we'll take one of those A ranks then. Naruto's head snapped up and the Hokage's pipe landed on his desk, knocking the tobacco across his desk. Anko, you do realize he is just a genin, not 2 months out of the academy with no mission experience, and he was the lowest ranked child at the academy. Anko nodded, her smile not fading. Yes, I know that. I feel Naruto is ready for this as well. I just was going to start on something easy for him, but going in hard is good too. Hell, it's in his nature to go into things heavy. Sarutobi sighed and rubbed his tired temples with his fore and middle fingers. Fine, Anko, have it your way. There's 2 missing nin who are causing trouble. They've taken over a small town about 4 hours travel from here and appointed themselves leader and have taken the town more or less hostage with a group of mercenaries. Your task is to move in and take out the leaders and their men as swiftly and quietly as possible. I'm assigning this to you because you're Konoha's best assassin and this is your perfect assignment. The 2 shinobi are about Jonin level, so be cautious. He handed a scroll containing the mission information to Anko, and she and Naruto bowed deeply to Sarutobi. Hi. We accept this mission and will complete it without fail, Anko recited. With their mission obtained, the 2 left the tower, and once out in the street, Anko turned to Naruto. Alright, you've heard the mission details. Go get packed for 3 days. We're gonna go there today, scout the village during the day, then move in tonight. If all goes well, we'll be back by tomorrow afternoon. Naruto nodded. I'll meet you at the west gate in 15 minutes. Anko nodded in return, and the 2 split up to gear up for their mission. 15 minutes later and the 2 were flying through the trees on their way to the small captive town. Naruto turned to Anko and asked the question that had been itching at his mind for a while now. Anko, why did you accept an A-rank mission, even though I've never even been on a mission before? Anko turned to him and smiled. Because I trust you, and I have faith in your skills. Do you not trust me? Naruto was surprised to find that he did indeed trust Anko. He would trust her with his life, just as she would trust him with her own. I do, I was just curious. Anko grinned. If you believe in yourself, you can accomplish anything, remember that. And remember who told it to you when you leave my ass in the dust in a few years. Now focus before you slam into a tree. Naruto nodded and focused on the trees, taking his mind off what she just told him. They arrived at the small town in just under 4 hours, and once they got there they quickly set up a small site just outside of the town. At the site they set down their packs and Anko got straight down to business. Alright Naruto, we're gonna do this in one night, the quicker the better. I'll scout the western half of the town, you scout the eastern, stay in the shadows and stay hidden, don't go out into the village no matter what, and don't get caught. Meet me back here at sundown, and we'll plan the attack. Naruto nodded and made his way towards the eastern half of the town to scout, while Anko headed for the western half. Naruto crawled about in the shadows of the town, surveying everything and everyone, patrol routes, who was a threat and who wasn't, and where the key buildings were. By the time the sun went down, he concluded that in the eastern half of the village there were 9 patrols of either mercenaries or really poorly skilled shinobi, and he found what must have been their barracks, as all the patrols headed there when they swapped out, so that building was going to be a prime target in the attack. He also noted what must have been the headquarters of the 2 missing nin, the largest building in the town, 3 floors and had 8 guards on the outside, and an unknown number on the inside. With his scouting done, he headed back to their campsite to meet up with Anko. Naruto found Anko already waiting for him at the campsite, which didn't surprise him. She always seemed to get to their meetings first, no matter when or where they were. "So, what did you discover?" she asked. Naruto sat down and retold her everything he found. "So, what about you? What did you find out?" he asked when he finished. Anko shrugged. "Seems as if you had the more active side of the village. I only saw 4 patrols, and no buildings of interest, aside from their headquarters." Naruto nodded. "So, how do we split everything up?" Anko rubbed her chin for a second before nodding. "You take care of the barracks and patrols on the eastern half. I'll take care of the 4 patrols on the western half, and I'll scout the headquarters to see just what we're up against there. We'll move in an hour when it gets even darker, as I know how you love the dark." Naruto grinned. "Yeah, that sounds good to me. This is going to be fun." He and Anko spent the next hour planning their own attacks on the village, and when the time was right they moved out for their roles. Naruto moved in towards the village and drew upon his dark chakra and was quickly enveloped into his body of pure darkness and faded into the darkness and silently scaled the low walls of the town and slipped inside the village in the dead of night. He spotted the closest patrol easily. He could see perfectly in the dead of night and slipped up behind the man silently. He rose up onto his hind legs behind the man and spoke in his chilling voice, "Night, night." The man spun around instantly, and Naruto latched his giant hand over the man's face and lifted him up off the ground like so much dead weight. The man looked at Naruto's giant form from the gaps between his talons and lashed at Naruto's hand with all his might to no avail. Naruto opened his other hand and speared his talons through the man's chest, shredding his heart and lungs to pieces, killing him instantly. He swooped off to the side and deposited the lifeless body down an alley to hide it. He found it slightly odd that the taking of another person's life didn't affect him at all, but he pushed the thought to the back of his head and continued onward. He easily dispatched the rest of the patrols in similar manners to the first one, sneaking up on them, then killing them before they could react. Naruto eventually came upon the barracks. He knew the building pretty well, 6 windows, it was one large room on the inside, and there was a front and back door, meaning if one man got away, both he and Anko were in for some crazy shit. He stalked up to the building on all 4s, and frowned at the door. He couldn't fit inside at his current stage. Sure, he could rip the whole frame out, but that would defeat the whole stealth part of the operation. He focused on the dark chakra and suppressed a large amount of it, and grinned to himself as he shrank down to being only about 6 feet tall. He was glad he learned how to shrink himself. Being big wasn't always the best plan of action. He slipped through the back door and crawled silently along the floor, sliding along the wood boards. He entered the main room and grinned to himself. The lights were out, and they were all asleep. The replacements for the next patrol shift must not be up yet. He swiftly came up to the first cot, and the unaware man laying on it, and he clamped his large hand over the man's mouth. The man's eyes suddenly shot open and he tried to scream, only to find his mouth blocked. Naruto moved quickly and cleanly slit the man's throat down to the bone with his talons. Naruto continued to move through the room, killing one after another, until he got to one cot. He clamped his hand over the man's mouth, and the man's arm shot up and a kunai was embedded into Naruto's chest. Naruto bared his teeth at the man and chuckled quietly. "Was that supposed to do something to me?" Die. He speared his talons down through the man's chest and wrenched his ribcage open and sent gore splattering to the floor. Naruto heard a noise behind him and turned around, and suddenly noticed that he awakened the last few mercenaries that were left. The men looked around in the darkness, and noticed the lifeless bodies of their allies, and Naruto's large frame, hunched over the shredded body of his latest victim, and the men leapt out of their cots and raced for the front door. Naruto cursed and drew on more of the chakra and increased back in size up to his full 8.5 foot height and tore across the room, sending cots and bloody bodies flying to the side as his heavy weight shook the floor with every thunderous bound. He caught the first man and wrapped his fist around the man's head, and whipped him back across the room where he slammed into a pile of cots and a bar of metal impaled his chest. Naruto didn't stop though. He continued on, tossing the running men back across the room, where they smashed into something and met an untimely end. He reached the final mercenary right as the man took a step out the front door. He was about to scream for help when Naruto's huge clawed hand latched on top of his skull and snatched him back into the barracks so violently that it severed his spine and killed him instantly. Naruto held up the lifeless body to make sure that he was dead before dropping him onto the cold wood floor and shrinking before sliding back out into the streets of the town. When Naruto got out into the street, realization dawned on him. He and Anko never set a place to meet with her information about the headquarters. Damn, I'll have to track her down then, because his dark chakra blocked out all sense. He needed to suppress the chakra all the way. He sighed and suppressed his chakra, and the black form of his body was once again absorbed into his body. Once all the black chakra was absorbed, he sniffed the air and sighed, now just to track her down. Oh shit. A mercenary tackled him to the ground and was pressing a short sword towards his throat, which Naruto just barely blocked with a kunai. The mercenary pressed harder and Naruto, who was significantly weaker than the full-grown man, was losing ground and the blade pressed closer to his throat. "Who the fuck are you?" the mercenary yelled. Naruto growled and he once again drudged up his black chakra. The chakra began to wash over his body and take the form of the Jiraiya quickly, and he growled out, "I'm the end of your life." He took his full form and pushed back against the mercenary, and sent him flying 10 feet in the air and 15 feet back. The merc hit the ground with a thud and a crack, and quickly rolled over and grabbed at his ankle. Naruto stood up on his hind legs and towered over the merc, who looked up to him terrified. "What the hell are you?" Naruto bared his fangs in a feral grin and lifted up his right leg and stomped on the mercenary's skull, crushing the bone and flattening his head, splattering blood, bone, and brain matter across the pavement. Naruto sighed in his incredibly deep voice and once again reverted back to his normal form. "I swear, I'm just not allowed to get a break. Now I just need to track down Anko." He sniffed the air once again and caught Anko's scent. With the scent found, he took off at full speed towards Anko. Naruto found Anko crouched on a roof about a quarter mile away from the headquarters of the two Jonin. He walked up beside her, and crouched as well. Anko turned to Naruto and raised an eyebrow. "What the hell are you doing here, Naruto?" Naruto winced slightly at her tone. "Well, I finished clearing out everyone in the eastern half when I realized we never set up a reconnaissance point to meet to discuss the plan for taking the HQ. Anko sighed. "If we don't set up a new point, we meet at the original point." "I forgot to tell you, it's my fault." Naruto nodded. "Oh. Since I'm here, what's the plan?" Anko smirked. "You're lucky. You caught me just as I finished up checking everything out." "Alright, so the final count for the guards for the night shift seems to be 6, 2 at each of the 3 entrances. I can't tell much else except that it seems the two Jonin are occupying the top room of the building. They're probably asleep at this point, so we might be able to catch them off guard." Naruto nodded. "Well, 2 plans come to mind instantly. 1, the 2 of us take out both guards at the doors simultaneously, or I go Yoriyaju again, and I just leap in through the wall and try and take out both Jonin before they can react, or before they can figure out how to hurt me." Anko looked at him like he was stupid. "Are you trying to die? This is in fact Jonins you'd be fighting, 2 of them. Sure, you're a powerhouse, but we aren't Jonin for nothing. I've got a better plan." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "And that plan is?" Anko slapped him upside the head. "You, in all of your agile greatness, scale the walls of the building, and I'll take care of the guards. I'll go through the building, and when I confront the two Jonin, you smash through the wall and attack them from behind while they're distracted. Then I'll take at least one out while they react to you." Naruto shrugged. "Alright, since your plan beats the hell out of mine, I'm gonna go sneak up to the top floor then. Get going on killing the guards already." Anko narrowed her eyes at him, but hopped away as he morphed once again into his Yoriyaju form. Naruto shrugged and disappeared into the darkness of the night to scale the building. It didn't take Naruto long at all to get to the top of the building. He could climb it easily enough, and the fact that he was as dark as the night, and almost impossible to see, made it really easy. He positioned himself outside the window of the room the two Jonin were in, and he could easily see them both, asleep in separate futons. Naruto sat and waited for Anko to come in the room, and fortunately Anko worked quickly, and 10 minutes later the door to the room creaked open and Anko stepped inside, 1 kunai in each hand. Less than a second after she stepped inside, a kunai shot at her from beneath one of the futons. She blocked it at the last second. "Who are you, and what are you doing in our room?" a man said as he leaned up from his futon, fully clothed and a kunai in hand. A split second later his partner leaned forward as well, kunai in hand as well. Anko smirked. "Well, I'm just a lowly shinobi sent here to kill you all. Congratulations though, you're the last 2 people left in the town." The 2 shot out of bed and as they hoped, both turned entirely to Anko. "What the fuck, they're all dead." The older looking one yelled. He had short black hair and a scruffy goatee. Anko smirked. "Sorry, did I put a damper on your parade?" "So sorry." The younger one with a brown ponytail narrowed his eyes and flexed his fist. "You bitch, we'll kill you." He threw his kunai at her and instantly started to flash through a chain of hand seals, while the older one started another chain of seals at the same time. Naruto figured now was the time to interrupt, so he walked forward and lashed out with his right arm and ripped the wall of the building apart and sent it flying down to the yard below. Naruto stooped down a bit to fit inside the room and knocked some stray debris aside. Both Jonin instantly spun around and stopped their seals at the sound of the wall being ripped apart, and when they laid eyes upon Naruto, the younger one stumbled back in a combination of fear and amazement. "What the fuck is that thing?" he yelled out as he stumbled back. Anko ran forward and drove her kunai into the base of his skull, severing his spinal cord, killing him instantly. "That would be my partner and friend, the Yoriyaju," she answered, as she pulled her kunai free of his skull and dropped the now lifeless body to the floor. The older of the 2 spun around once again back to Anko, and yelled in anger. "You bitch! You killed my brother! I'll kill you for that!" He lunged for Anko with another kunai, poised to kill her when Naruto reached out at high speed and latched onto his shoulder, and dug his talons into his chest and back. He lifted him up off the ground, burying his talons further into him, and held him at a level in front of his face. "You forgot about me. Were you 2 really Jonin? You guys were just as pathetic as those mercenaries. When was the last time you 2 actually had any shinobi training?" The man's eyes widened at the sound of Naruto's voice and attempted to wriggle free, but only managed to dig the razor-sharp talons deeper into him. He screamed in pain. "Gag." Naruto sighed and turned to Anko. "Kill him?" Anko shook her head. "Not yet. He could be useful for some information to me, I just need him to stay still. Naruto nodded his huge head easy enough. He reached out with his other arm and crushed his elbows and knees in his tectonic grip, enticing a blood-chilling scream from the man as his bones splintered and speared into his flesh. Naruto then dropped the man onto a chair in the corner of the room. Naruto took a few steps back and sat down and leaned against the remaining wall of the room, while Anko just grinned and moved forwards towards the man, twirling her kunai around her index finger. She stopped directly in front of him and held the blade inches from his face. Here's how this is gonna work. I ask you a question, you answer. If you don't, I will make you feel lots and lots of pain. The man winced in pain and scowled at Anko. Ask away, bitch. Anko chuckled at the insult. Are there any other men in the town or near it? The man grinned. Maybe, maybe not. Anko sighed and jabbed her kunai into his shoulder, earning a cry of pain from the man. I don't think that was a very wise answer. Try again. The man gasped in pain and nodded. Fine. No, there's no one else except for who we had in the village. Anko smiled wickedly. Fabulous. Now, why did you take over this town? And why so close to Konoha? The man groaned. We just wanted to be rich, to get enough money to disappear. Anko sighed. You are pretty damn stupid. How long did you think you could take an entire town hostage? Yoriyaju, we're finished here. Naruto nodded and stood back up and stalked over to the crippled man, whose eyes widened in fear. What are you doing? I told you everything. Naruto sighed and lashed out and grabbed the man's head and snapped his neck instantly, then released him. Naruto looked over to Anko as his Yoriyaju form quickly was absorbed back into himself. Shall we go get some rest then? Anko nodded. Yeah. I'll meet you at the campsite in just a little while. Naruto nodded and stepped out through the hole in the wall. See ya in a bit then, and he jumped off into the darkness. The next morning Naruto and Anko packed up their campsite and headed back to Konoha. On the way back Anko turned to him. Hey Naruto. Are you okay? You had to do a lot of things on this mission, including kill a lot. Naruto shrugged. Yeah, I'm fine. I dunno, when I killed them I didn't feel anything at all. I knew if I didn't kill them, they'd kill me. Not like I had a choice about it. Anko nodded. Good, as long as you know and understand that. I'm just looking out for you, Naruto. Naruto smiled. Thanks, Anko. I'm really glad you're my sensei. Anko grinned. Well, things are just starting to get better. Naruto, how would you like to be a Chunin? Naruto almost missed the next branch when she said that. Chunin, what do you mean? Anko's grin grew. Well, the Chunin exams are soon, really soon. They start tomorrow. In fact, do you want to sign up? I'll nominate you. Naruto's eyes widened and he nodded. Hell yeah, I do. Sign me up. Anko chuckled and nodded. Great, I'll do just that. I'll get you the form you'll need to fill out as well. I'll stop by your house later tonight. Naruto nodded and the two refocused on the trees ahead. They arrived at Konoha just after lunch, and they headed straight for the Hokage tower. They quickly climbed the stairs and knocked on the Hokage's door, and entered upon hearing his request. Sarutobi was surprised to see Anko and Naruto walk in his door. They had just left the morning before. Anko, back already? That was quite fast. Anko grinned. Yes, mission was a complete success, Hokage-sama. The two leaders and all of the mercenaries have been taken care of. Sarutobi looked over to Naruto, who didn't have a scratch on him. Did he do anything? Or did you just take care of everything? Anko's chuckled. He actually did more than I did. He took out the mercenaries' barracks and 9 patrols and one of the Jonin. I took out 4 patrols, a few guards, and one of the Jonin. Sarutobi's eyes widened. Impossible. A genin wouldn't stand a chance against a Jonin. Anko only laughed again. Naruto isn't any normal genin. He's quite skilled, and I would never lie about his skill. Sarutobi sighed. So, mission success. Very well. You'll both be paid for an A-rank mission and it will be added to your records. You're dismissed. The two bowed and left his office. Later that evening Anko stopped by Naruto's house and handed him a paper. Fill it out, and drop it off at room 301 at the academy tomorrow. They start at 1, don't be late. Naruto nodded and looked at the paper. Oh, I'll be there, thanks Anko. Anko chuckled. I know you'll be there. Well, good luck Naruto, see you later. Naruto nodded again and closed his front door and filled out the form quickly. He decided now was the time to start anew. So when it asked for his name and parents' names he put Shikuto Naruto, Shikuto Jakali, and Shikuto Karai. That would surely get him some attention. With the form filled out he slipped out of his clothes and hopped into bed to get some rest before the exams. Tomorrow would surely be fun. Chapter 4. The next morning came, and Naruto surprisingly got some sleep. He quickly got dressed and ready and was about to leave his house when he remembered that he didn't have to be at the academy until 1 in the afternoon. What could he do to blow some time? He sighed and resigned himself to reading a book on sealing he stole but never got the chance to look at. At the Hokage tower all of the Jonin were gathered in the Hokage's office. Sarutobi stood from his chair and nodded to his subordinates. Thank you all for coming. You all know why you're here. I'd like to know who among you gave your teams forms for the Chunin exams. Hatake Kakashi stepped forward. Hatake Kakashi supplied Team 7, consisting of Harino Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and Taha Shirikatsu, forms to take part in the Chunin exams. Yuhi Kurinai stepped forward and repeated the process, announcing that Team 8 would also be participating. Sarutobi Asuma then walked forward and again repeated the process, announcing that Team 10 would also be participating. Anko grinned at the fact that most of, if not all of the Jonins likely didn't even know her team existed, what with their low profile. And I, Mitarashi Anko, supplied my team, Uzumaki Naruto, with the papers to take part in the Chunin exam. All eyes instantly snapped over to her, and Kurenai, being her best friend, spoke. You have a team? And it's that kid? What about teammates? He needs 2 teammates to participate, let alone stand a chance. Anko's grin only brightened. Naruto is a special case. There was an odd number of graduates this year, so Sarutobi gave him to me. I've been training him. In fact, we just got back from our first mission yesterday. Kakashi stepped forward to give his 2 cents. You've only completed 1 mission and you're letting him take place in the exams? Not that I care about the brat, but that's sick, even for you, Anko. He'll get murdered in the exams. Anko smirked. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you that the mission was an A rank, and that it was a complete success. Naruto is far more skilled than anyone gave him credit for. I doubt any of you were able to take down a Jonin at his age. Now that sent everyone for a loop. You took an A-rank mission as your first mission with a one-man Jonin squad. Are you CR? Silence. Sarutobi yelled, interrupting Kurenai. All I asked for was who was taking part in the exams, not for your opinions on each other's teams. Since the matter is solved, you're all dismissed. The Jonin all sighed and left his office, except Anko, who grinned and hopped out the window. She couldn't wait to see everyone's reaction to Naruto whooping their team's asses. She quickly sped off towards the Forest of Death to set up the second part of the exam. The time finally came and Naruto headed for the academy to take part in the exam. He sighed at the horrible genjutsu that trapped a large number of genin at the second floor. He was glad he had pulled the hood of his cloak up. Some of the rookies from that year and past were there fighting. He brushed past the crowd and continued on up the stairs and walked into room 301. He was a bit surprised at the number of genin in the room already. There was well over 100 of them, and Team 10 of the rookies was there, as was Team 8. When he walked into the room, all eyes in the crowd instantly locked onto him, and he felt many waves of killing intent wash over him like a tiny wave. It was pretty good for a genin, but he'd experienced much more before in his life from the loving people of his village, shinobi included. He was glad that while his black chakra absorbed the Kyuubi's essence and feel, it did not destroy it, and he still had access and separate control over it. He grabbed a bit of the Kyuubi's killing intent and sent it washing back over the crowd before him and watched on, grinning beneath his hood. As many a pairs of eyes widened in fear and many genin spun around in their seats, now fearing for their lives. A few minutes passed and Team 9, a genin team from the year ahead of the rookies, came in and walked straight past Naruto. Then a minute later Team 7 walked in, with Sasuke limping slightly. Not a second after they walked in the door, Yamanaka Ino from Team 10 practically tackled him to the floor, and she and Sakura instantly began fighting over who would win Sasuke over and marry him. Naruto laughed at the girl's simplicity and stupidity. All fawning over someone would do in the shinobi world is get you killed. Soon enough, and 6 out of 9 of them were fussing and arguing about something or other. Naruto grew fed up with them and cleared his throat rather loudly, gaining their attention. You guys should shut the hell up before you get yourselves killed. Sasuke broke himself free of Ino and Sakura and walked over towards Naruto. And who the hell do you think you are, telling us what to do? Naruto pulled his hood back and grinned devilishly. Well, I'm one of 3 people in this group that stands a chance at making Chunin. Sasuke scoffed at Naruto. Well, you actually made it onto a team. I thought you would have gotten sent back to the academy. Where's your teammates? Dead last? Or are they too scared and are hiding? At that moment a silver-haired shinobi wearing a Konoha Hittite walked up to them. He was wearing purple clothes and glasses. He's right, you know. You guys should keep it down. You never know who's listening. He motioned to all of the other genin in the room, who were staring at them, bathing them in killing intent. All of the genin suddenly froze under the unmatchable amount of killing intent that was being sent at them. Naruto smirked at the tiny amount that had them all locked up and spoke up. Jesus. You guys are pathetic to lock up under such a tiny amount of killing intent. He glared at the crowd and his eyes flashed gray as he bathed them in a tidal wave of the Kyuubis. Killing intent once again, and they all spun around and faced forward once again. Naruto turned back to the shinobi in gray. My apologies for their incredible stupidity. Rookies just don't know when to shut the fuck up. The mysterious shinobi smiled. No worries. We were all rookies at some point. I was actually going to give you all some help. I've got information on almost every participant in these exams. If you guys had anyone in mind, I could look them up. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Just who are you to have so much information? The shinobi slapped his forehead with his palm. How stupid of me. Sorry. My name is Yukushi Kabuto. This is my 7th time taking the exam. I know a good bit about everything here. So, you guys have anyone you want information on? Sasuke broke free of the killing intent from the other genin and stepped forward. Yeah, I do. What do you have on Sabaku no Gaara and Uzumaki Naruto? Kabuto sighed. You know their names? That's no fun. First up is Gaara. He took out a deck of cards and took one out. It was completely blank. He placed the card on the ground and began spinning it with his middle finger while pushing Chakra into it. In a second a bunch of information appeared and Kabuto picked it up. Sabaku no Gaara. I don't have a whole lot of information, but here's what I got. His teammates are Sabaku no Temari and Sabaku no Kankuro. Let's see here. Mission history, 75 D ranks, 15 C ranks, and check this out, 4 B ranks. And he's never been hurt on a mission before. Shikamaru inhaled sharply. Whoa, he's never been hurt. He must be some kind of freak. Kabuto nodded and continued, yeah. I don't have much else on him except that he specializes in ninjutsu. Let's see here. Next up is Uzumaki Naruto. He pulled out another card and spun it around on the ground again. And again a bunch of information popped up. Let's see his teammates are what the hell. He doesn't have any teammates. Mission history, no D ranks, no C ranks, no B ranks. Whoa. 1 A rank, and he wasn't injured on it. He has next to no ninjutsu, or genjutsu, but his taijutsu is incredible. All in all, it seems as though he's a strange one. All eyes of the rookies were suddenly locked onto Naruto. What the hell? How come you don't have to do any D ranks? Ino blurted out. Naruto smirked because my sensei understands the fact that they are beneath my skill, so we leave them to people more suited to them, people like you guys. Got anything else in that deck of cards there, Kabuto? Kabuto smirked and pulled out another card. Actually, I have a pretty interesting bit. Recently a brand new village popped up out of nowhere, Otokagure. No one knows who its leader is, but they have a team here for the exams. They're a new little village, so it will be interesting to see if they're up to snuff. Apparently his words were not taken kindly as Naruto caught 3 shinobi charging through the crowd at high speed towards Kabuto. He noticed the Hittite they were wearing had a musical note on it. Clearly they were the sound shinobi, and they weren't happy. They were at Kabuto in under a second, and the one in the lead, whose entire head was wrapped in bandages, swung at Kabuto's face, and the other one, who was wearing a yellow t-shirt, swung at him at the same time with an opposing fist. Naruto moved faster than any of the genin could track, and he appeared in front of Kabuto, and caught both of the sound shinobi's fists. Their eyes widened in amazement at the ease that he stopped them, but the bandaged one smirked. Naruto suddenly felt reverberations rip through his body. It hurt like hell, but he showed no outward sign of it. Honestly, can't you guys wait for the exams to begin before you try and kill someone? You're not setting a very good example for yourselves, and I'd hate to kill you. Just then there was an explosion of smoke at the front of the room. A tall man with a scared face appeared, along with 20 or so shinobi all dressed in gray. He had on a long ankle-length black trench coat and a black bandana over his head. Listen to the kid. He knows what he's talking about. Any fighting without permission will result in you and your team's expulsion from the exams. Naruto smirked and pushed the 2 genin's fists away. Rushing into an unknown situation to prove yourself or to make a point will get you killed. The man at the front of the room continued, you're all under my rule now, and for the next 90 minutes, you're under my rule, and you're in for a lot of fun. My name is Marino Ibiki, and I'm the proctor for the first exam. My colleagues here will hand out numbers. They correspond to the seats at these desks. Sit where you're assigned and shut up. The tests will be handed out afterwards. Naruto sighed. A written test? That's not much fun. Wonder if it will be easy. One of the shinobi in gray finally came around to him and gave Naruto a slip of paper. Naruto looked at the slip. Seat number 86. He sighed and quickly found his seat. He was just about smack dab in the center of the room. He shrugged and sat down, not giving it any further thought. About 5 minutes passed and everyone was finally seated. Here the Hinata was seated next to him, along with some kid from Konoha. He never really had anything against the girl, she just never spoke. Hell, the only time he ever heard her talk was to answer the rare question that she was asked. Once everyone was seated, Ibiki began once again. Alright maggots, the rules for this test are simple. You start off with a perfect score, and every time you get a question wrong, you lose a point, and every time you're dumb enough to get caught cheating, you lose 2. So, get caught cheating 5 times, and you and your team are out on your asses. You'll notice the 10th question is blank. We will be giving out the final question in the last 10 minutes of the test. Now flip over your test and get to work. Naruto flipped his test over quickly and filled out the information at the top, one again putting Shikuto Naruto for his name. He quickly read the first question and chuckled to himself. I guess I should thank the instructors from the academy. These questions are easier than the ones on all my exams. Well, first part of the exam is in the bag. He easily flew through the test and answered the 9 questions within 15 minutes. He flipped his paper over and smirked at the amazed looks on the faces of those who watched him fly through the test. He leaned back in his seat and cracked his neck loudly, the sound splitting through the silent air in the room. He laughed in his head as many pencils in the room stopped writing at his distraction. Naruto watched in amazement as team after team was kicked out for cheating. He knew they were only a fraction of those who were actually cheating. Hell, he knew that Hinata was even cheating. He felt her chakra spike and could see her Byakugan. The remaining time finally passed and Ibiki stood at the front and made his announcement. Alright, it's time for the 10th question to be unveiled. But before I give you the question, I have an ultimatum to offer you all. You can choose to not take the 10th question. The room exploded into an uproar, and Ibiki raised his hand to silence them. You didn't let me finish. If you choose not to take the 10th question, then you and your team fail the exam. But if you take the question and get it wrong, then you and your team are forever banned from ever taking the Chunin selection exams again. This time, the room exploded into chaos. What the hell? There's plenty of kids here who have taken the exam before. Some IWA Nin pointed out. Ibiki laughed maniacally. Tough shit. I wasn't the proctor back then. Naruto smirked. He's playing with their self-confidence. Damn good strategy, since no one can be sure how hard the final question will be. I think I'll take it. He watched on as even more teams folded under the pressure and quit out to save their future shinobi careers, and he couldn't believe the number that were dropping out. There'd be no one to toy with at this point. He had to stop it before the exams became crappy. Ibiki, could you please cut the act early? I would like some kids to toy with later on. It's no fun if you leave only the hardesses. Ibiki's eyes widened and he locked on to the smiling form of Naruto. The little bastard figured it out. Keep running your mouth if you want to be disqualified, Jonin. It's a damn shame intimidation fails miserably on Naruto. Just call off the act and pass us. And my sensei would have your balls on a platter if you disqualified me. Ibiki looked around the room and sighed. No one was hesitant anymore. I'll make you pay for this brat. You all passed the first exam. Congratulations, he grumbled. Naruto smirked at his minor victory, and the yells once again came forth. What the hell are you talking about? We pass? You didn't even collect our tests, let alone grade them, some blonde-haired girl from Suna yelled. Ibiki smirked. The first 9 questions were to see how well you could gather information, which was why they were so hard. They were also to instill doubt in your ability to answer the 10th question. Naruto chuckled. They were easier than the questions on my Jonin exam. Ibiki, step up your game. Sakura called out from a few rows back. What the hell are you on, Naruto? The Jonin exams were nothing compared to this. Naruto only chuckled. Notice I said my exam, not the. My exam was infinitely more difficult than the one you all took. It's what I get for being loved by my village. Sakura was about to reply when she was cut off by a strange ball smashing through the window of the room. It opened up and unfurled to reveal a large banner, and Naruto instantly recognized the scantily clad woman standing before it. Anko. What the hell are you doing here? He yelled in surprise. Anko rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. Sorry, Naruto. Couldn't tell you I was proctoring. Unfair advantage and all that. Naruto sighed. Whatever, continue with what you need to. I have an idea of where the second exam is going to take place now. Anko turned to the rest of the Jonin and grinned maniacally. My name's Mitarashi Anko, and I'm the proctor for the second exam. And if you don't want to fail before anything even gets started, then get your asses to training ground 44 in under 10 minutes. Naruto grinned and Anko jumped back out the window, leaving a baffled group of Jonin in the room. Naruto followed her a second later, amazing everyone with his speed. Naruto followed closely behind Anko all the way to the fences surrounding the forest. They arrived and Anko stopped abruptly and spun around to face Naruto and smiled. Surely so. How was the first exam? Naruto grinned. It was easier than my Jonin exams were. I have a feeling that the whole exam is going to be pretty easy for me. Anko giggled. What do you expect? You've got me as your sensei. Of course it will be easy. Naruto chuckled and then his smirk suddenly vanished. Anko, what do you think of me changing my name? Anko's brow raised in confusion. To what? Naruto sighed. To Shikoto. Anko's eyes widened in surprise and she sighed. So, you know. When did you find out? Naruto took a deep breath. I've known since Mizuki attacked me. He told me about my parents. Anko's eyes narrowed in anger. And you didn't tell me because? Damn it, Naruto. If I knew that you knew about them, there were things we could have done. Naruto's eyes widened. Things like what? Why does my knowledge of my parents matter about what you can teach me? Anko's anger instantly vanished, to be replaced by a sly smirk. Well, now you'll just have to wait and see. You'll be finding out in no time flat. Naruto sighed. Anko had pulled another quarter-second mood swing. He was used to them by now, but it was still irritating. He often wondered what made her so strange, but never asked. So, thoughts on me using my real name? Anko shrugged. Meh, your choice, your decision. If you want to change, then do it. I'm not your mother or anything. Naruto nodded. Alright, fine then. I feel some Jonin approaching. I'm gonna move off to the side for now. Naruto slinked away from Anko and stood off to the side a bit as the Jonin started to show up, a good portion of them looking a bit out of breath. Then again, few, if any of them, probably knew where the training ground was. They had to find where it was, and then race there as fast as they could. Many of them cast hateful glances at Naruto, and a few of them looked at him fearfully, not that he minded in the slightest. They all finally got there, just as the 10-minute deadline passed and Anko stood atop the small shack outside the forest fence. Anyone who has not yet arrived is disqualified. Moving right along, this exam is simple. You have 5 days to complete your task. Each team will be given either an earth or heaven scroll. Your objective is to obtain the opposite scroll as to what you have, and make it to the center of the forest and enter the tower there. But your current task is to fill out one of these forms, she informed, while brandishing a stack of forms. What are the papers for? Sakura asked. Anko grinned sadistically, a grin Naruto knew all too well. This training ground is also known as the Forest of Death, and that doesn't go without merit. Killing is both allowed and possible in this part of the exams. These forms waive Konoha of any responsibility in the event that you get yourself killed. Naruto smirked. Now things were really heating up. He already knew what he was going to do for the exam, and no one would even think to try and attack him. Do these forms also clear us of responsibility, in the event that we're the ones doing the killing? Because I could give a damn if Konoha goes free if I go down for it. Anko chuckled. Naruto sure wasn't being very subtle today. Yes, you're also cleared of responsibility, Naruto. That doesn't mean you can kill everyone else though. Naruto snickered evilly. Well, as long as I don't get in trouble for killing anyone. Unhappy, he purposefully looked straight at the rookie 9 and all but Sasuke froze in place in fear for a moment, causing Naruto to laugh louder. A few Chunin joined Anko in handing out the sheets and Naruto signed his after rapidly reading it, and he was, in fact, cleared of responsibility in case someone died at his hands. He smirked and signed his name at the bottom, once again, Shikuto Naruto. 10 more minutes passed and everyone finally drudged up the courage to sign the waivers. They all handed them in and were given their scrolls. Naruto himself got a heaven scroll, and he watched and listened with chakra-enhanced senses and remembered all of the teams that got an earth scroll. They were all assigned an entrance gate to the forest, and Naruto noted that the team of Iwa Nin one gate over from him had an earth scroll. And they would be his prey. The lights above each gate switched from red to green and the gates slammed open and everyone charged into the forest. Naruto merely grinned and walked into the woods, the Iwa team scent already in his grasp. Now all he had to do was catch them and take them out, not that it would be difficult. He stealthily followed them for about an hour before they came to a stop in a well-hidden as far as they knew clearing. Naruto grinned as he drew on his dark chakra and was quickly overtaken by his Yoriyaja form. Once the chakra fully enveloped him, he silently climbed down from the tree and slowly crept up on the shinobi. He decided to at least give them a fair chance first, and stalked straight out into the clearing on all fours. All 3 shinobi instantly jumped up and away from him. Kunai at the ready. What the hell is that thing? The smallest one asked. Naruto stood up on his hind legs and reached his full height, which completely dwarfed the 3 before him. You've got 5 seconds to leave your scroll and run before I kill all 3 of you, he announced in his chillingly deep voice. The genin stiffened at the sound of his voice, but quickly stopped and stood tall. It'll take more than some cheap genjutsu to get our scroll, the tallest one said, before forming the ram sign and yelling out Kai. But their faces quickly filled with fear when nothing at all happened to the gigantic beast of darkness before them. Naruto bared his fangs in an evil snarl. You can't dispel something that isn't a genjutsu. Your 5 seconds are up. It's time to die. Hope you enjoyed life. Naruto dropped back down onto all fours and pushed off with his hind legs and rocketed toward the 3 at speeds beyond what they were expecting, or capable of matching move. Their leader yelled, just as Naruto rammed his shoulder into the smallest of the group and smashed into a huge tree behind him, crushing the small boy into the tree hard enough for the bark on the opposite side to blow off from the impact. The genin violently vomited up a huge amount of blood, his liquidated organs, and he slumped forward, very much dead. The other 2 genin stared in shock as their friend had the life crushed out of him in an instant. Their shot at becoming Chunin was gone now with the life of their teammate. Since they needed their whole team to continue, all that was left now was to survive. The leader reached into his pocket and withdrew his scroll. Take the scroll, we give up, just leave, he begged. Naruto shook his large head slowly. You gave up your chance, now you die. The leader and his other teammates' eyes widened in fear, before the leader snapped back and ran through a series of hand seals and slammed his open palms into the ground and yelled out Doton, earth wall jutsu. Instantly the ground before them lurched upwards and a huge wall, 30 feet tall and 50 feet wide appeared. Naruto whistled in his mind. The kid must have an earth affinity. Big surprise. The leader turned and shouted to his teammate, run. We've got to get away while the wall holds. No sooner had they turned around though, the wall exploded into a sperry of sharp pieces of rock that shot at them at high speed, cutting them all over. Naruto slid through the settling dust of the now destroyed wall and shot for the second teammate. He caught him in his distress and jabbed his talons into him and lifted him off the ground without effort. He screamed in pain, but Naruto ignored them and snapped his head to the side with his other hand, breaking his neck. The leader used his friend's death to bury 2 kunai into Naruto's back. Naruto merely dropped the dead body and turned on the leader, who was still grasping their scroll tightly in his left hand. Now you pay, Naruto announced chillingly. The first screams of torture and death ripped through the forest as Naruto took the life of the final member of the Iwa team. Once finished, he picked up their scroll and it was absorbed into his chakra, and he surveyed the scene. 3 dead shinobi, lots of blood, and he got the scroll needed to pass. He nodded to himself, pleased with the outcome, and hopped off towards the tower at incredible speed. Little did Naruto know, but he was watched for almost all of his slaughter. The members of Team 10 were at the gate next to Naruto, and were also tracking the 3 Iwa Nin, oblivious of Naruto due to his unique chakra. They caught up to the Iwa group after they tried to dispel his genjutsu. They showed up right as he charged at the smallest member and destroyed him. They watched, rooted in their spots with fear, and watched as the gigantic beast ripped through the Iwa Nins like trash. When the dust settled and Naruto finally left, they were left terrified and with one question on their minds: what else could be lurking in the forest of death? It took Naruto 30 more minutes to reach the tower. The forest extended much longer than anyone would think. When he neared the tower, he suppressed his chakra and he was a regular human once again. He walked straight up to the doors and opened them, and walked inside. He solved the riddle therein, and quickly gained access to the tower. Anko was just starting to relax after starting the exam when she received an urgent message from the monitoring facility. While they were on their own, they still had cameras, specifically near the tower. Anko got to the facility and walked up to the young woman who requested her. What do you want? I was just getting settled, she snapped at her. The girl withered under her glare. Gomen, Anko-sama. But someone finished the exam already. Anko's eyes widened. Impossible, he didn't, did he? Play me back the tape from the tower. Show me who it was. The girl nodded and played the tape, and it clearly showed Naruto calmly walking up to the tower doors and pulling them open. Anko's jaw dropped. Holy shit, he did it that fast. She looked at the timestamp in the corner of the screen. 1:38. He completed a 5-day exam in 1 hour and 38 minutes. Naruto was quickly fulfilling his potential, and his speed of progress was disturbing. He didn't even have a visible scratch on him. He must have used that chakra. Well, whatever works, I suppose. What does this mean, Anko-sama? The girl nervously asked. Anko smirked. It means he is going to be bored as hell for the next 5 days. Naruto sighed as he ventured about the vacant tower. He was literally the only person there. There wasn't even a proctor or any to watch the place. Gah, these next few days are really going to blow. I guess I could do some more reading. He pulled out his book on sealing and continued where he last left off. He was soon going to start using seals and making his own. The 5 days passed by slowly, and Naruto finished his book on sealing easily and even practiced a few. He didn't have a set of brushes with him, so he couldn't make any for real, but committing them to memory was a good idea. The 5th day finally arrived, and everyone who was already in the tower was called down to meet in the arena. Naruto walked into the arena and surveyed the genin who made it through. He wasn't surprised to see Gaara's team standing there, seeing as he saw them arrive later the same day that he did. He also noted that all of the Konoha teams made it through, though it was apparent that they made it through only recently. Hell, Sasuke looked about ready to drop, and Sakura looked like she got the shit beat out of her. After a moment, a shinobi wailed out before them. He looked like he belonged in bed, not an exam. Any idiot could tell he was sick. He looked at them before coughing a few times. Considering the number of teams that made it through the second exams, we need to hold some preliminary matches to slim down the number of contestants in the third exam. They will be one-on-one matches. The winner progresses to the finals while the loser does not. He turned and motioned to a large scoreboard-type display on the wall behind him. The fighters will be randomly chosen and displayed here. The two will fight until one gives up, is unable to continue, or dies. I will of course try to stop it before that happens, but death is possible. Off to the side, a set of doors opened and all of their Jonin sensei walked in and stood behind their genin. Anko's absence was instantly noticed, but he shrugged it off, probably something to do with being a proctor. Naruto concluded. The board behind him crackled to life and names began flashing across it at high speed. When the 2 names are chosen, everyone else please go up to the balcony to wait for your fight. At that moment the names stopped flashing and the 2 names of the fighters shone brightly in yellow letters. Kiba Inuzuka and Sabaku no Temari, please step forward for your fight. Kiba grinned first up at bat. Oh yeah, he yelled, as he stepped forward, Akamaru barking in agreement. Temari herself sighed and looked to Naruto. Damn, I wanted to fight the blonde one. Naruto smirked as he walked past her towards the balcony. No, you really didn't. Temari smiled and turned to Kiba. Come on, mutt. Let's make this quick. Kiba narrowed his eyes and growled, you'll pay for that comment, bitch. Naruto chuckled from the sidelines. Kiba is done for, he said to himself. Teammate, who was standing close by, overheard him and Kurenai smiled. I wouldn't be so quick to judge. Kiba is quite strong. Naruto's chuckle did not cease, though strength does not matter in this fight. Kiba is a one-track-minded idiot who couldn't outthink a mouse. He's going to lose without even landing a hit. She's way above his level. Kurenai raised an eyebrow at Naruto's evaluation of the fight, but she smiled nonetheless, not trusting his novice opinion. We shall soon see, she replied. Naruto smirked as the girl whipped out a huge fan off of her back and Kiba and Akamaru were sent slamming into the concrete wall behind them, cracking it. So, she's a wind combatant. Interesting, Naruto noted. Kurenai, Hinata, and Shino watched on, flinching with every brutal impact before Kiba's consciousness left him. Winner, Sabaku no Temari, the proctor announced. Naruto turned to Kurenai with a sly grin. I rest my case. Kurenai lowered her head slightly. It seems that she was in fact above Kiba's level. Naruto shrugged. That team from Suna is not your average, run-of-the-mill team. All 3 of them are far above Genin level. Gaara is probably low Jonin. They arrived at the tower in just 13 hours and 26 minutes, he explained. Kurenai's eyes widened at his explanation. How do you know all of that? Naruto smirked. A genin at the start of the exams gave a little information about them, and how else would I know when they got here? I got here before they did. I got here in just over an hour and a half. Kurenai's jaw fell slack as her red eyes bulged. 1.5 hours? How is that even possible? It should have taken a genin at least 8 hours to cross the forest, let alone take out a team and get a scroll, and you did it alone. Naruto's smirk didn't fade. Just because I said the Suna team was above everyone's level didn't mean I meant myself. I'm mid to high Jonin level in all but mission experience, and I have the chakra off well. I have a lot of chakra, he said. Naruto turned his attention back to the large scoreboard once again and watched names fly through, and 2 more contestants were chosen. He wasn't all that surprised that Shikamaru beat the sound Kunoichi, and he was intrigued by Shikamaru's shadow jutsu. I bet I can do them too, with my affinity for darkness. Maybe I can even do it better. He watched as a few more fights transpired and winner after winner was decided. A grin crawled across his face as he saw the board finally stop on his name, Shikuto Naruto vs. Tensaki Tenten, it read. Naruto smirked as every Jonin in the room gasped and all the genin looked around, confused. What the hell, your name's Uzumaki, not Shikuto, Sasuke noted. Naruto shook his head. No, it's not. Shikuto is my real name, Uzumaki is a fake, Naruto corrected. Sakura squinted at the name before sighing. Why does that name sound so familiar? She asked. Naruto grinned devilishly. Because you all learned about my parents in the academy. They were quite famous. A series of Met his explanation and his grin brightened. Shikuto Jakali, Shikuto Karii. The two most powerful Nuknins of their time, and two of the best fighters to ever live, my parents, he revealed. All of the Jonin's eyes widened and Sakura yelled out those people were murderers, who killed and tortured people for pleasure. You're the son of those monsters, Naruto growled in a deep, low pitch. If you value your life, do not ever speak of my parents in that way. Now, I believe there is a fight to be had, he announced, before jumping over the handrail and hitting the ground with a heavy thud. Tenten followed suit and jumped over the railing. Why did the village let you live then if you're their son? Why not kill you? I suppose I have to right their mistake then, she said, as she reached for a scroll and unraveled it. The proctor looked at the two of them before coughing and nodding. Begin, he announced. Tenten instantly unleashed a slew of kunai and shuriken from her scroll at Naruto, who skillfully blocked everyone, surprising everyone. Tenten narrowed her eyes. You've gotten better since the academy. You would be a pincushion by now. Naruto smirked. Guess you'll just have to try harder to hit me then. Tenchan, he knew how much she hated being called that name, and realized he may have done something wrong as her face turned red and she reached for two scrolls. He wasn't familiar with them, he said as she jumped up into the air and unleashed the scrolls. Naruto pulled out two kunai and stood his ground, prepared to fend off what she threw. It started out light, a few kunai and shuriken, which he blocked easily. But in mere seconds it was at a level that even Naruto couldn't cope with. Hundreds of shuriken, kunai, kamas, swords, and every other possible weapon was being hurled at him at high speed. He realized with a sigh that he didn't have the time to dodge them, or enough arms to block them all. He closed his eyes tightly and grit his teeth. This is gonna hurt a lot, he thought just before they all impacted him. Many of the shinobi in the room averted their gaze when the hail of steel met soft flesh, but the sound of pierced and sliced flesh could not be missed. They looked back and many flinched at the sight. Naruto was something akin to a pincushion. Kunai and shuriken littered his body, and the ground below was already soaked in blood. There was a katana run through his left lung and a 6-foot spear impaled through his abdomen. Tenten sighed as she landed, panting. It's over, she stated. He didn't even fall over, she noted. The proctor raised his hand and was about to announce Tenten the winner when a sinister chuckle echoed out across the room. Everyone's eyes widened and snapped to Naruto as his body trembled slightly. Tenten looked at him, terrified, and whispered, impossible. No one could survive that. Naruto raised his head and grinned devilishly at Tenten, despite the shuriken lodged in his cheek. I have to say, that hurt a lot, Tenten. I never know you could be so sadistic, he said. Tenten, along with everyone else, watched in both fascination and horror as Naruto grabbed hold of the spear and ripped it free of his stomach, followed by the katana, and all of the other pieces of steel lodged in his body. His dark chakra came to life slightly, and right in front of everyone's eyes the wounds sizzled shut, accompanied with black smoke. Tenten staggered backwards in terror. What the hell are you? She screamed in fear. Naruto just smiled though as he disappeared with pure speed and instantly appeared behind Tenten and clubbed her in the head with a kunai handle. Despite trying to kill me, I'll let you live, he informed her unconscious body before heading for the stairs. The proctor stood there for a minute in shock before raising his arm. Winner, Shikuto Naruto, he announced. Naruto ignored the looks from everyone as he went back to his previous spot in his now tattered rags that were once clothes. He arrived at his spot and stood stoically, waiting for the next match to begin. Kurenai turned to Naruto though and walked over to him, away from her team. What the hell was that? She asked. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What was what? He asked innocently. Kurenai narrowed her eyes. No one should have survived such an onslaught. What the hell did you do? She asked / demanded. Naruto frowned slightly. I haven't always been faster than the villagers, you know. I know how to withstand a fatal attack. Kurenai's eyes widened marginally. What the hell is he talking about? Yahak, she lied. Naruto smiled bitterly. Figures they wouldn't tell anyone about that then again. Why would they? Kurenai looked confused. What are you talking about? Naruto sighed. The demon of Konoha wasn't born with the ability to sneak and kill, despite what you may have been told. I didn't learn all of that stuff until I was 6. Up until then I was beaten to within an inch of my life daily. Kurenai's eyes widened further. What the hell? Why was I lied to about him? All they ever said was that he was born evil, and used his demonic power to escape all threats. I never knew. I am sorry. Naruto growled slightly, startling her. Don't be. I've gotten through life until now alone. I don't want help to come now, nor do I want pity. Kurenai took a step back in shock at his harshness. Fine. If you don't want anyone to like you, all you had to do was say so. Naruto shrugged and turned his back to her and looked at the fight below. Sasuke was getting his ass handed to him by a Konoha shinobi, and without turning he spoke again. I do not like those that I don't trust. Earn my trust, earn my friendship, he informed coldly. Kurenai was shocked by his cold disposition on life and turned back to her team and walked away. Naruto sighed once she left. I'm too exhausted to deal with people right now. Healing all those wounds drained my stamina, and it's not like I can go Yoriyaju right now to fix it, he concluded. Naruto continued to watch Jonin beat the life out of each other below, and he was surprised by Lee's assault on Gaara. Damn, he's fast when he uses the celestial gates. I'd probably have to drop my weights and use a bit of chakra to keep up with him. When the final fight concluded, all the teams gathered down in the arena and Naruto wondered where the hell is Anko. Even Ibiki is here. When the third Hokage came forward to speak, Naruto called out, Yo, Sarutobi, where the hell is Anko? While his complete lack of respect startled everyone, Sarutobi just groaned. I regret to inform you that Anko was critically injured badly in a fight during the second exam. She is currently in the ICU at the hospital. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. What the hell? I've got to go see her. He turned and made for the exit when Sarutobi called out, we still have to pick matches for the third exam. Naruto didn't even turn back around to answer, just pit me with Gaara. I've got to go, and he disappeared out through the door, a black mist following him as he began to channel his chakra. Naruto left behind a crowd of stunned shinobi, no one believing that he so blatantly disobeyed the Hokage of their village just to see his sensei. Kurenai herself was very shocked at his apparent devotion to her. Maybe I should ask her about him. Surely she knows more than anyone else, she concluded. Sarutobi sighed and turned to an Umbu. Please follow him and make certain he doesn't do anything foolish. The Umbu nodded and followed the way Naruto left. The Umbu returned 5 minutes later, interrupting Sarutobi's speech. My apologies, Hokage-sama, but I could not locate him. He left no scent, no tracks, and no chakra trail, and he is nowhere in the area. Everyone in the room was stunned. Loosing the Umbu was no easy task, and Naruto just did it without a problem and in just a few seconds. Very well, it will take him quite a while to get through the forest again. Catch him at the hospital later, Sarutobi ordered. The Umbu nodded. Hi, Lord Hokage, and he disappeared once again. Naruto ripped through the forest in his Yoriyaju form, and got to the fencing surrounding it in under 30 minutes. He quickly suppressed the chakra and sprinted to the hospital in his human form. He arrived at the hospital and charged right up to the front desk, startling the woman sitting there. What room is Mitarashi Anko in? He demanded. The woman narrowed her eyes at him. Why would I tell you that, demon? She replied coldly. Naruto's eye twitched slightly and he leaned in close to her. Because if you don't, I will break every bone in your body, he hissed. The woman gulped. Never before had the demon been so outwardly aggressive. Room 234, in the critically injured ward. Naruto nodded and ran off into the hospital, ignoring the staff yelling at him. Naruto found her room and quickly went inside. Anko was lying on the bed on the far side of the room, hooked up to a large number of machines, heart monitors, respirators, everything. She was extremely pale. A doctor walked past the door and Naruto yanked him into the room and looked straight into his eyes. What happened to her? What's wrong with her? He demanded. The doctor scowled at Naruto but submitted. She's been injected with some kind of poison. We don't have an antidote, and it has extremely powerful hemotoxins. It's eating away at her body. We're doing our best to maintain her organs until her body can flush the poison, but it's not looking good right now. Naruto scowled in return at the man. What about medical jutsu? Why can't you extra the poison out? The doctor sighed. Defeated. We tried. This poison, whatever it is extremely potent. It dissolved the chakra we tried to use to extract it, and no one has the chakra it would take to extract it. Naruto frowned. To hell with that. I have more chakra than anyone. I'll do it. The doctor scoffed. And what do you know about medical jutsu? You can't do anything, demon. Naruto narrowed his eyes and threw the doctor into the hallway and walked out of the room. Then I'll go find out how to do this myself. You better keep her alive. If she dies, you die. And he left the hospital and headed for the library. Naruto went to the library and looked through all that they had on medical jutsu, but it was all useless, at least for what he needed. There was information on theories and anatomy, and lots of things that he didn't need to know, but nothing on the molding of chakra for medical jutsus, or how to perform anything. So, he went to a higher source. He broke into the village's archives and raided their medical section, and quickly found the scrolls he was looking for. Once he was done there, he stopped by the trade district and stole a set of ink and brushes. He was quickly devising a plan to save his sensei, and it was going to be a risky gamble. Naruto arrived back at the hospital and broke into Anko's room since visiting hours were over. He locked the door to her room and applied a seal that would prevent any chakra from leaking out of the room. He then sat down and read through the medical scrolls, his brilliant mind quickly harnessing the information that he needed from them. After a few hours of diligently studying the scrolls, he set them aside and focused his chakra and closed his eyes. And his hands glowed green with medical chakra. He focused harder, and the green shifted and changed as his dark chakra entered the mix, and the green shifted into a chilling dark purple. Satisfied with the result of his studies, Naruto moved over to Anko's body and applied a seal that would force his chakra to remain inside in Anko's body. With the amount he was going to be flooding her system, it would attempt to pour out of her tenketsu. This prevented that. With everything prepared, Naruto stood over Anko, more than slightly nervous. He focused his chakra and the chilling purple chakra burned brightly in the palms of his hands. His skin turned black from the use of his dark chakra and his eyes turned pure white, and he placed his hands on Anko's bare stomach and the purple chakra flowed into her body. Instantly her body spasmed weakly from the intruding chakra, but he stood firm and quickly started to look throughout her entire body for the powerful poison that was killing her. Naruto stood next to Anko well into the morning, seeking and destroying all of the poison in her system, and he didn't stop despite the banging on the door to the room. Finally he extracted the last of the poison from her system, and her eyes tiredly fluttered open. And Naruto? She asked sleepily. Naruto let his chakra receded and stepped back while taking a deep breath. Damn, I'm glad that worked, he admitted. Anko looked around the room and sighed. Damn, the hospital again. Naruto leaned against the wall beside her bed and sighed. Care to tell me what put you in this situation, Anko? Anko looked up to him. Better question, why am I alive? That poison should have killed me. Naruto scoffed. That's the thanks I get for staying up all night and saving your sorry ass? TCH. Perhaps I should have left you to die. Anko's eyes widened slightly. You saved me? But how? There's no antidote for my poison. Naruto's jaw dropped. Your poison. You did this shit to yourself. Anko sighed. Double suicide technique. It's supposed to kill the user and the target. Now how did you stop it? Naruto sighed. I extracted the poison from you. I used the seal on you so your body would contain my chakra, and then I worked all damn night to get rid of it all. Now who the hell were you trying to kill that you would kill yourself to do it? Anko looked up to the ceiling and sighed. My old sensei, Orochimaru of the Sannin. Naruto growled slightly. Orochimaru, huh? I'll be sure to kill him someday. Anko smiled. My little hero. But before you even think of taking him on, we've got to get you some more training. You still have lots to learn. I take it that they had preliminary fights. How did yours go? Naruto shrugged. I got pit against Tensaki Tenten. She surprised me with the number of weapons she could summon, hence the state of my clothes, he said. Motioning to his still tattered clothes, she cut me up good. But I knocked her out without really trying. I didn't feel like showing anyone my true strength just yet. Anko grinned. Great. Well, I still feel like shit from my poison, which I'm still amazed you removed. But it'll be a couple days before I can get out of bed, so why don't you spend the time I need to recover doing whatever you want, then we can start your training when I get out of here, okay? Naruto nodded and walked up to her and palmed the seal on her shoulder, and it vanished. You won't be needing that anymore. He then removed the seal on the wall of the room, unlocked the door, and left her to rest. When Naruto walked out into a hallway, there were 3 nurses and 2 doctors standing there, infuriated. What the hell were you in there doing to her, demon? One nurse yelled. Naruto narrowed his eyes at her. Doing your jobs. The poison is gone from her system. She just needs time for her body to recover from it. He then shoved past them and left the hospital. Naruto stopped by at his apartment to change into a fresh set of clothes before heading out once again. He had devious things to do. Naruto went through the village, keeping off all of the streets before once again breaking into the archives of the village. He again had a purpose to being here. He went through the archives and found the information for the clans. He went to the Nara clan and began looking through their information. He was disappointed to not find anything useful about their jutsu, so he moved on to the next stage of his plans. He stole the scroll containing the blueprints to their compound and left the archives. Once out of the archives, he looked over the blueprints and grinned when he found the room he wanted, the jutsu library. Perfect. He slipped through the shadows and headed for the Naros after creating a storage seal on the inside of his cloak. Naruto smirked when he arrived at the Nara residence. Nobody was home, probably out celebrating Shikamaru's success in the prelims, Naruto concluded. He bypassed their security measures and slid inside their abode. Naruto swept through the house, double-checking to see that everyone was gone before moving to the jutsu library. Upon reaching the door, he cursed. Damn it, a blood seal. Looks like I'm going to have to do something a bit extreme to get in here. He sighed and left their house to enact yet another plan. He headed for Chuji's house and smirked when he saw Shikamaru and his family there relaxing with Chuji's family. Now to get someone's blood. Well, his mom's not a shinobi, so she's my best chance. He drew a kunai from his holster and took aim at Shikamaru's mother. He took a breath and threw it as hard as he could. It sailed through the air at extreme speed and sliced his mother's arm with a cry of pain and a bit of blood. Naruto yanked hard on the length of wire attached to the kunai, and it shot back to him. He snatched it out of the air, inspecting its blood-soaked surface before turning and running like all hell away from the Akimichi residence, lest he be caught. He raced back to Shikamaru's house and broke back inside again, and went straight to the library door. And when he got there, he took the kunai and smeared the blood across his palm before pressing his hand to the blood seal on the door. And after a second the door shifted and creaked open, eliciting an evil grin from Naruto, and they thought blood seals could stop me. He entered the library and quickly started going through all of their things. He likely didn't have long before they came back now, what with his mother injured. Naruto went through their jutsu archives and found a few techniques that looked quite nice: shadow possession jutsu, shadow neck bind jutsu, and shadow meld jutsu. One allowed you to control the opponent's body through connection with their shadow. Another allowed you to literally strangle your enemy using your shadow. And the third one allowed you to meld into the shadows, hiding yourself from view substantially. Pleased with the fruits of his labor, he took the 3 scrolls and sealed them into his cloak and quickly fled their residence once again, closing the jutsu library door behind him, reactivating the seal, though he added his own blood to the list of accepted people so he could return if needed, plus to replace the scrolls, hopefully before they knew they were gone. Naruto arrived at his shabby rundown apartment, and sat down at his rotting table and set down the things he planned to learn, the 3 jutsu from the Nara compound, and his book on advanced seals, the second book in his series of 3. Naruto just reached for the scroll on the shadow possession jutsu when his stomach growled loudly. Damn, that's right, I haven't eaten since before the prelims, have I? He pushed away from his table and walked over to his fridge, stained yellow from tobacco from its previous owner. Naruto opened the door and looked inside. After rummaging around for a few minutes, he closed the door and sighed. Perfect timing to run out of food, he said grumpily. He walked towards his door and pulled the hood of his cloak up before stepping out into the hall. It was time to go shopping. 3 days passed and Naruto had read the 3 scrolls on the techniques, and was working on his book of advanced seals. He had gotten the shadow possession jutsu down pretty easily. It was just a matter of willing his shadow to stretch out along the ground. He had no way to test it on another person though, so he just practiced extending his shadow, and he found that if he used his dark chakra, it could stretch out far longer than without it, as if the dark chakra actually emboldened the shadow and strengthened it. He had also gotten the shadow meld jutsu down quite well, and when he added in his dark chakra with the jutsu he discovered a disturbingly awesome effect. It was as if he skipped into another dimension, he turned into a complete shadow on the ground, and his vision darkened, and he could move around, an amazing ability in itself. The only jutsu that he was having trouble with was the shadow neckbind jutsu. He could form the shadow into a hand, but he didn't know how to make it actually strangle, and he would need a person to test it on. Naruto was deep in thought about a complex seal when there was a loud knock on his front door. Who the hell? Oh wait, it's Anko. One sec, he called out. He pushed himself up off the couch and walked over to his front door before opening it, to reveal Anko, with a scroll in her hand. What's up, Anko? He asked. Anko grinned. You inviting me in, or am I gonna stand here? Naruto shrugged and stepped to the side. Whatever, come on in. Anko brushed by Naruto and walked inside, and cringed upon seeing the state he lived in. It wasn't that it was dirty, no, the place was quite clean, but it was a wreck. She couldn't spot a single thing that was in good condition. You live like this? She asked. Naruto looked at all of his broken furniture and shrugged. Yeah, not like I can afford better, that will take a while yet, so hats with the scroll. Anko turned to him and grinned. Boy, you just can't wait, can ya? While I was in the hospital, I got to thinking, your parents were renowned for their ability to control darkness, and you've got your super chakra, so I figured you would probably have no trouble at all learning jutsu that had to do with darkness. So when I got out of the hospital I went to the archives and picked up the 2 shadow jutsu I knew of off the top of my head. Anko handed the scroll to Naruto, who smirked. Naruto looked at the unopened scroll. 2 jutsu, He opened it and read them. Kagebunshin no jutsu, Kagebunshin shuriken no jutsu. Really now? That's some pretty nice jutsu you got there, thanks Anko. Anko smiled and shrugged. Yeah, I just wish I could have gotten more, but there was no way in hell they'd let me take the Naruto shadow techniques. Naruto smirked slyly and picked up the 3 scrolls on the table and tossed them to her. I wouldn't worry about that too much, Anko, he said as she caught them. Anko opened the scrolls and gasped when she saw the contents. How the hell did you get these? They should have been in the Nara's family library. Oh my god, you didn't. Naruto grinned. I did. And it wasn't all that hard. Sure, I hit a few snags, but I got it done without being caught. Anko sighed. You crazy son of a bitch. Do you know how big of a crime that is? To break into a clan's library and steal their jutsu? You're looking at life in prison or death. Naruto shrugged. It's in the past. Not like we can change what's done except to make something of it, right? Anko nodded slowly. Fine. So have you done anything with them yet? Naruto grinned. Like you wouldn't believe. I've got the shadow possession jutsu down, I think, but I haven't tried possessing anything yet. And I've got the shadow meld jutsu, and I'm working on the shadow neck bind. Anko's eyes widened as his list built. Damn it, Naruto, you learn too quickly, so, show me what you've got. Use the shadow possession. Naruto nodded and took a few steps back before forming a hand seal, and his shadow shot forward and met with Anko's, and she suddenly couldn't move anymore. Naruto grinned as he raised his arm and Anko copied. Anko frowned. Damn you and your chakra, I can't even feel any weakness in the jutsu. It's like an iron grasp. Naruto released the jutsu and smiled. Well, that is the idea, no? Anko nodded. Yeah, well, let's get over to our training ground. I want to see what you can do with the Kagebunshin no jutsu. I have a feeling you're going to give a new meaning to the phrase one-man army. Naruto nodded and sealed away the scrolls, and the duo quickly left for the Forest of Death. They arrived at the forest and Anko turned to Naruto. So, you mentioned the shadow meld jutsu. Care to demonstrate? Naruto nodded. Okay. It's more of a camouflage though. Rather than a cloaking jutsu, he backed up beside a tree and performed a quick 3-seal sequence, and his shadow crawled up his body and made him blend in with the tree, for the most part. If you looked closely you could tell he was there, but if you were to just glance you would likely miss it. Naruto dropped the jutsu and smiled. It's pretty useful, but I've noticed that if I use my dark chakra, I can do some strange things with the Nara jutsus. Like my shadow can stretch a lot farther, and with the shadow meld. Well, watch. He performed the jutsu again, but this time used his dark chakra, and instead of his shadow coming up and merging with him, he sank down into his shadow and became nothing but a dark shape of himself on the ground that was his shadow. Anko's eyes widened at Naruto's disappearance. Where the hell did you go though? Your shadow is still here. Naruto's shadow waved at her, and her jaw dropped. No way in hell, is that you? The shadow? The shadow nodded and began to walk around on the ground. It really looked quite creepy to see a shadow walk around with nothing to cast it. Naruto rose back up out of his shadow and Anko shivered. You're getting creepier and creepier as time goes on. I think I love you, she said. Naruto chuckled and rubbed the back of his head. So, Kagebunshin no jutsu, huh? He looked at the scroll and quickly read the steps. I'll be damned if this isn't the easiest jutsu in the world to perform. One hand seal and no chakra control. Just push forth a large amount of chakra. I think I like it. Mind if I give it a shot? Anko grinned. I'd be upset if you didn't. Naruto nodded and formed the cross seal as instructed by the scroll and forced a huge amount of chakra into the jutsu, and nodded to himself. Kagebunshin no jutsu. He yelled out, and instantly the entire area of the forest they were in was engulfed by an enormous cloud of smoke, which cleared to reveal over 400 identical Narutos. Anko crossed her arms over her breasts and pouted. Stupid bastard, and your chakra. I can only make 10 at a time, and only maybe 60 before I'm out of chakra. Naruto snickered. Would you rather have an ancient demon locked inside you? Anko frowned and walked up to the closest clone and kicked it hard enough in the crotch to lift it off the ground. It disappeared with a puff of smoke, and simultaneously Naruto and all of the clones winced. Damn Anko, why did you kick him so hard? Wait, how the hell do I know how hard he got hit? Anko smirked. Have you figured out the rest of the Kage Bunshin's function yet? Naruto blinked olishly. No. Anko sighed and walked up to another clone and whispered in its ear before stabbing it in the neck with a kunai, causing it to go up in smoke as well. Now, what did I tell the clone? Naruto sighed. You said if I don't figure this out you're gonna. Oh, damn, I'm slow today. So, I get their memories when they dispel? Anko smiled. Exactly. Now give the Kage Bunshin Shuriken a go, and just so you know, it can be used with other objects as well, but the bigger the object, the more chakra it will use. But considering who is using it, you could probably clone an entire house. Naruto smirked and dispelled all of his clones before withdrawing a shuriken from his holster and tossing it lightly in the air and quickly forming the cross seal and channeling his chakra and whispering Kage Bunshin Shuriken no Jutsu, and a second shuriken appeared right beside the first. Naruto caught them both and held them. Wow, I can't even tell the difference by feel. I can sense the chakra of the clone, but it's solid. This is awesome. Anko smirked. You said that using your dark chakra for the jutsus caused them to perform differently, right? Try these two again with your dark chakra. Naruto nodded and the second shuriken vanished. He drew on his dark chakra briefly and formed the cross seal and muttered Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Right beside him a cloud of pure darkness coalesced into a Kage Bunshin that looked identical to Naruto. Both Anko and Naruto studied it for a moment before frowning. I don't get it. What's the difference? Naruto said. Anko shrugged and stabbed the clone with a kunai. The clone gasped in pain and pulled the blood-soaked kunai free. What the hell? That hurt, it complained. Naruto and Anko's eyes both widened. It would seem that they can take a lot more damage than normal Kage Bunshins, Anko concluded. Naruto looked at the bloodied clone and shrugged. There anything else you can do besides take hits? The clone smirked and formed the cross seal, and around him 15 more regular Kage Bunshin formed. I have a lot of chakra, about Jonin level, the clone informed. Naruto nodded and the clone dissipated into a cloud of darkness again, and its clones all puffed away. Naruto then repeated the Kage Bunshin Shuriken Jutsu, except using his dark chakra, and a second shuriken appeared. Naruto caught it and looked at it. What's the difference? He asked. Anko shrugged. Why would I know? Your Kage Bunshin had a shitload of chakra, so maybe these do too. Maybe they last a lot longer. Naruto shrugged and the shuriken dissipated into a black mist. Guess I'll leave one stuck to my wall and see how long it lasts. So now what? Anko smirked. Well, we've got just under 30 days for you to train. Not that you need any training to ace this thing, so why don't we train for half of it, and take it easy for half of it? Naruto sighed. I guess so. So what do we do right now though? Anko grinned devilishly. How about you show me what you can do with all your new skills? Let's beat the hell out of each other today, she said as she whipped out a kunai. Naruto grinned as his custom claws engaged and extended, and he lurched at Anko. Naruto and Anko trained for 3 days, going through everything, from taijutsu battles to jutsu contests, and training side by side. It occurred to Naruto that their training was just as much for Anko as it was for him, seeing as he was stronger than her now if he used his dark chakra. Hell, if he drew upon all of his chakra he would be stronger than anyone. When they met on the 4th day, Anko seemed more laid back than usual. So Naruto, let's say we forego training today. Unlike you, I get sore from 3 days straight of work. How about we go to the hot springs today, and just relax a little? Naruto shrugged. I guess so. I've never been there before though. Anko grinned. All the better. You'll love it. She grabbed a hold of his arm and the two disappeared with a puff of smoke. Naruto and Anko had been relaxing for about an hour at the hot spring, which they had turned the men's side into a private, 2-person co-ed bath via Anko's threats, when all of a sudden a noise reached Naruto's enhanced ears that was not at all welcomed. A laugh. But not just any laugh. A specifically high-pitched perverse laugh that Naruto had heard roll out of Konoha's multiple adult shops. It was the laugh of a pervert. Naruto growled deeply suddenly, startling Anko. What the hell are you growling for? Naruto shifted his to Anko for a second. The springs have an unwelcome visitor. I'll be right back, Anko. Naruto stood from the springs suddenly, giving Anko an eye full of Naruto, and he swiftly went inside to get clothed. Naruto dropped down behind the source of the giggling and scowled. It wasn't even a young guy. He looked to be in his 50s, and he had on shinobi garb. Naruto growled lightly to get the man's attention. Can't you just read Ika Paradise like the rest of the perverts in this village? He asked, not at all joking. The man turned to Naruto and grinned perversely. How would that benefit me? For I am the great Jiraiya of the Sannin, author of the Ika series, he proudly proclaimed with a closed his over his chest. Naruto deadpanned. Your Jiraiya of the Sannin? I think I just lost all respect for Sarutobi's teaching skills. Jiraiya frowned slightly at the boy's comment. He looked familiar but he couldn't place it. What's your name, boy? He asked. The Sannin were known for entering his voice. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly at the man's change in attitude but brushed it off. Shikuto. Naruto, what's it to you? Jiraiya's eyes widened in surprise. He's their son? Well, he does have his mother's hair really now, That's quite a name to have. Those two were quite famous in the Land of Fire. That's quite a name to live up to. Naruto eyed the man carefully. He seemed to know more than he let on. Then again, he was a Sannin amazing. I'm not here to talk about my parents though. We're talking about you, and the fact that you were leaving now. Jiraiya looked at Naruto in surprise. What makes you think you can order me, a Sannin, around? Naruto shrugged. Well, I can ask you politely, or I can kill you. Or I could just let you explain yourself to my sadistic Kunoichi-sensei, along with all the other women in the hot springs, Naruto replied coolly, not at all intimidated by the man's situation of power. Jiraiya scoffed, completely ignoring the threat. What makes you think you could even touch me, let alone kill me? Naruto smirked, a little too evilly for Jiraiya's taste. I have ways, not that I would ever show or tell you. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes slightly. This boy was officially interesting to him. How about we make a little bit of a deal then? I'll tell you some things that no one knows about your parents, if you tell me some things about yourself that no one knows. Naruto's interest was piqued. He knows things about my parents that no one else knows. Perhaps it would be worth it to inform him just a little bit about myself. What do you know about them? Jiraiya grinned in delight, thinking he had the boy hooked like a helpless fish. Not here, this is much too important to speak freely. Walls have ears, you know. We need somewhere secure. Naruto squinted slightly before nodding. My apartment. Meet me there in 30 minutes. And don't string me along. Naruto quickly turned and hopped back over the wall into the hot spring, leaving Jiraiya to sigh. Stupid kid. I don't know where he lives. Jiraiya grumbled about troublesome blondes and left the springs to find out where Naruto resided. Naruto arrived back at the springs fully clothed, and Anko frowned. That took longer than expected, she said, dissatisfied. Naruto sighed slightly. Well, I was a bit more than I'd bargained for. Anko crossed her arms over her breasts. Really now? How so? Naruto took a deep breath. Well, the guy that was there claims to know things about my parents that no one else knows. He agreed to tell Meso I have to go talk with him. Anko sighed. You just couldn't rest for one whole day, could you? She smiled. Get the hell out of here then. But I expect to know what you find out at some point. Naruto nodded and smiled in return. Thanks, Anko. I'll see you later then. Anko nodded and Naruto ran off. Naruto waited at his house for almost an hour, when, right before he was about to go back to the hot springs, there was a heavy, aggravated knock on his front door. Naruto opened the door, and he realized just how tall Jiraiya was. Naruto was no shrimp for his age, standing at 5'6", but Jiraiya towered over him. You're late, Naruto said, annoyed. Very late. He stepped to the side and Jiraiya entered, and gazed at the run-down dump of a place Naruto resided. Wouldn't have been late if I knew where you lived. I had to search the archives to find any trace of your residence, he grumbled. Naruto shrugged and turned away from Jiraiya and palmed a series of seals on the wall, and the apartment shimmered a multitude of times, startling Jiraiya. He knows seals? Pretty advanced ones too, by the looks of them. What were those seals? He asked. Naruto smirked slightly. Soundproofing, vibration-proofing, chakra absorption, and light absorption seals, all bundled together into my own ultimate privacy seal. Jiraiya looked on, slack-jawed that someone as young as him knew such complex seals, and put them to use. Naruto smirked. Your turn to tell me something now. I showed you my sealing. Jiraiya scowled. That was a sneaky tactic. Your parents, they were not all about killing and taking things over, you know. They were actually pretty good people, whose skills happened to earn them bad reputations. Naruto's eyes widened. You knew them? Jiraiya nodded slowly. Yes, though not as well as the Yondaime did. From the way he spoke of them, they sounded almost like they were his friends. The Yondaime cried the day your father was executed. Naruto lowered his head slightly. Why them? Why did he capture them then? Why did he let my father be executed? Jiraiya sighed. They were still criminals, wanted in every elemental nation, including Fire Country. He couldn't overlook that, despite their friendship. Now, I believe it's your turn. Naruto shrugged briefly and formed the cross seal for the Kagebunshin, and two Narutos appeared on either side of him. Kagebunshin no jutsu, they said in unison. Just learned this a few days ago, actually, Naruto added. Jiraiya nodded, further impressed by his knowledge of a high-rank forbidden jutsu. Got anything else you feel like sharing? Or is this the limit of your knowledge on jutsu? Naruto smirked. Goading me into giving away more won't work, but I'll humor you anyway for your effort. I also know the Kagebunshin Shuriken no jutsu, and 3 other jutsu which I will not be sharing the names of with you, seeing as I don't trust you. Then of course, I have an alternate, more powerful version of every jutsu I know. Jiraiya's eyes widened. He created his own, better version of everything he knows, including the Kagebunshin. What of the Kyuubi? He asked. He had a feeling that he was already aware of the beast. Naruto's eyes narrowed significantly. I do believe it was your turn to give up some information, he said, without hinting at his answer. Jiraiya chuckled nervously. Unfortunately, that's all I know about your parents. Naruto sighed and pointed to his door, dismissing him, but he insisted. I'll cut a deal with you. Naruto raised an eyebrow in curiosity. Go on, he replied. Jiraiya grinned. You've got your Chunin exam finals coming up, right? I'll teach you some amazing techniques to ensure you victory if you tell me more. Naruto thought about it for a second before shaking his head. No, I don't trust you enough to tell you any more than I have, training or not, sorry. Jiraiya frowned. He sure doesn't want to mention anything about the Kyuubi to anyone. Something must have happened to the seal. I give you my honor as a Sannin that what you tell me will never reach anyone else's ears. Naruto outrighted laughed at the Sannin. Honor? What is honor? In the world we live in there is no honor, only money. Friends can become enemies and enemies can become friends in the blink of an eye. I've experienced it. Jiraiya sighed. Damn kid, he's seen too much shit in his life already. How would I earn your trust then? Naruto shrugged. You can start by trusting me. From there, hell if I know. Jiraiya turned for the door. You're just as stubborn as your parents, you know. Naruto grinned. It runs in the family, I suppose. Jiraiya left. 1 week later, Anko was lounging about her apartment on one of her few days off from training with Naruto when there was a knock on her door. Who the hell is ruining my time off? She grumbled as she pushed herself off her couch and slowly walked to her door, dango in hand. Anko opened her door to find her only true friend in Konoha standing there. Kurenai. What are you doing here? She asked. Could I come in, Anko? I was actually wondering if we could talk for a bit, Kurenai answered, slightly nervously. Anko shrugged and moved aside and allowed Kurenai entrance to her house. Kurenai stepped inside and instantly scrunched up her face at the state of her apartment. It looked like someone set off an explosive tag in it. There was trash and plates everywhere. Bottles of sake were strewn about and dango sticks were sitting on just about every surface possible. Do you ever clean this place up? She asked, disgusted. Anko shrugged. So, what do you want to talk about? She asked, bypassing Kurenai's statement. Kurenai sighed and sat down on Anko's cough. Naruto, actually. It seems as though no one but you knows anything about him. Anko scowled slightly. That's because no one does know anything about him. How can I? Some Naruto off's the complete opposite of what you've been told. Kurenai sighed. Well, I haven't been told much, just that he's a demon that steals from the village for amusement and scares people for fun, and of course that he's the QB, plotting the day for him to destroy Konoha. Anko narrowed her eyes at her best friend. So, take that, and flip everything around. Naruto isn't a demon, and doesn't steal from the village for amusement, and doesn't scare people for fun, and he's not the QB, and isn't planning to destroy Konoha. Kurenai's eyes widened. But what about all the stories I've heard about him robbing stores all the time? They just don't have the proof to catch him. Anko sighed. Because he does steal from the shops all the time, not for amusement though, necessity. No one in the village will deal with him, no one lets him buy food, clothes, or supplies. So he's been forced to steal from them, and he's been stealing from them since he was 6. Of course he isn't going to get caught. I'll bet he knows every shop in this village inside and out better than the owners themselves do. Kurenai was again stunned. Yet more shit I was lied to about. Damn those bastards. So, what do you think of him? You know him better than anyone. Anko smiled at the thought. What do I think? I think he's the best person in Konoha. He's one of the most powerful people in this village. Once you know him and he trusts you, he's the easiest person to get along with, and he's thoughtful. He's reliable on missions, and I wouldn't have a second's thought about trusting my life to him. He is amazing, she answered truthfully. Kurenai noticed a glimmer in Anko's eye as she spoke about Naruto, and a sly grin crept onto her face. So, do you like him? Anko cocked her head to the side. Were you not just listening to me? Of course I like him. There's nothing to not like about him. Kurenai's grin grew eviler, and she asked again. No, do you like him? Anko's eyes bulged and her head cocked back in surprise. Are you nuts? I'm 25, he's 14. Kurenai's grin didn't waver. I didn't ask if you thought it was right. I asked if you liked him, and well, I don't know why you would think about your age difference if you didn't. Anko sighed in defeat. Okay, so I do. He's the only person in the village that doesn't look down on me besides you. Why the hell wouldn't I like him? Not to mention that fact that he's so easy to be around. Not like it matters. He would never like someone as old as me. Kurenai thought hard for a moment. Do you think age really matters to him? From the things I've heard about him, and from what I've seen in the Chunin exam preliminaries, no one his age likes him in the slightest. I bet he likes you more than you're letting yourself believe. Does he know about your past? Anko furrowed her brow. No. Why does that matter though? Kurenai smiled slightly. Why don't you tell him about your past, and the way everyone treats you? I'll bet you anything that he will like you even more when he realizes just how much the two of you have in common. Honestly, you guys were practically made for each other. You've both been outcasted by the village and are icons of torment. The two of you getting together, it's like a romance novel come to life. Anko sighed. I dunno. I don't even know what to do around a guy. Kurenai chuckled. And you think he does? You'll both be on even ground. Your age will matter even less. It's not like you have more experience than he does. At least give it a shot, because I'm going to pester you forever if you don't. Anko's shoulders slumped in defeat. Alright, fine, I'll tell him. But not until after the Chunin exams. I don't want to give him more to think about right now. Kurenai smiled, happy with her own matchmaking abilities now. How about we go out and get drunk? Anko smiled. Kurenai always knew how to make her happy. Alright, let's go. And so, the duo left. Konoha's Ice Queen and the Snake Whore, what a combination they make. Chapter 6, Finals, Invasions, Feelings. The rest of the 30 days of training went auspiciously for Naruto. He spent most of the time training and working alongside Anko. He didn't see Jiraiya once again after their meeting. He assumed he just gave up, realizing he would have to put forth an effort to get somewhere with the blonde. The time for the finals arrived and Naruto arrived at the arena. He slowly walked out from the shadows of the entrance tunnel and into the sunlight, and he could audibly hear the majority of the cheering instantly stop, seeing as most of the observers were from Konoha. He ignored it though and walked up and stood just to the other genin, his cloak fluttering slightly in the mid-morning breeze. He idly noticed Sasuke's absence, and chuckled, sucks to be him. After waiting for the deadline to arrive, the proctor for the finals cleared his throat. He had medium-length brown hair and was chewing on what looked to be straw. He wore the standard Konoha Jonin attire. Very well, we'll move right along with the first match then. Everyone who isn't fighting, please make your way up to the observation balcony. Everyone slowly made their way to the stairs, leaving Naruto and Neji staring each other down. Up in the seats, chatter began. All of the shinobi who failed in the preliminaries were sitting together, along with the Jonin sensei. Tenten scoffed. He may have beaten me, but he doesn't stand a fleeting chance against Neji. He will crush him, she assured everyone. Anko, who was sitting beside Kurenai, broke out laughing. I hate to break you, bubble girl, but your precious Neji is the one who is going to be crushed. Naruto's unique talents makes him a Hyuga's worst nightmare. Hayashi himself couldn't even hope to beat Naruto, she informed, grinning evilly the whole time. Tenten narrowed her eyes at Anko. Impossible. Neji is the strongest genin in Konoha. Anko only laughed more. Watch and learn then, little girl. It should be most humorous. Tenten scowled but diverted her attention down to the arena below, while Sakura spoke up. Is he really that strong? Anko smirked. Naruto could take on every genin in this village on at once, and he would come out on top. Sakura's eyes widened and she too turned her attention down below, where the fight was just about to start. Begin, announced the proctor, before jumping back and away. This should be interesting, he mused to himself. Neji narrowed his pale eyes at Naruto. You may have bested Tenten, but you will not succeed here. Your fate has already been decided. Give up. Naruto outright laughed. Fate? You think I'm as weak as Hinata as to believe that shit? I make my own way through life. You're pathetic. Neji sighed. You just don't understand. You cannot fight your fate. You cannot defy your destiny. You don't know what it's like to have no say in what happens to your life. Naruto laughed once again. And you do? Neji frowned and removed his headband, showing Naruto the caged bird seal. He then went on to explain how the seal was placed on him, and just what it can do, and the power it gives main branch members. Don't you see? Everyone has a fate. Mine has already been decided, to serve until death. Naruto shrugged. Boo fucking who? Your father was killed when you were only 5, grow up and stop crying about it. I never knew either of my parents. You don't see me bitching. I'm gonna kick your ass now if you don't mind. I'll show you how pitiful you and your destiny really is. Neji sighed and replaced his headband, then dropped into a low Juken stance. Then come Naruto. I will fulfill your fate. Naruto decided to toy around with Neji for the most part, not that he had a chance anyway, first to test. He formed the now familiar cross seal and he muttered Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and 50 exact clones of Naruto appeared before him. Keep it simple. Academy Taijutsu style only. The clones all nodded high. They announced, and all dropped into the simple Academy Taijutsu style, and charged at Neji. Neji activated his Byakugan and began to dispatch the clones with practiced ease. While taking out the clones, he noticed that one was standing away from the group, not attacking. While a good idea, the effect is lost if you stand back and observe. Neji worked his way through the group of clones to the one Naruto who wasn't attacking. He broke free of the mob of clones and struck 3 points on Naruto's chest, who stumbled backwards and fell, and all of the other clones disappeared. Neji smirked slightly at his victory. A fatal mistake. You lose, Naruto. You cannot defy your fate. He was just about to turn his back on Naruto when Naruto chuckled darkly and raised his head, grinning maniacally before simply disappearing in a puff of smoke. In that instant Naruto appeared behind Neji, about to rip into his back with his custom claws, until something happened. His claws suddenly impacted a solid dome of blue chakra as Neji began to spin rapidly and Naruto was thrown back about 10 feet on his back. Well then, that was unexpected, he commented mentally. Neji, however, was not amused. It's time to end this little charade. You've wasted enough of my time. You're within the field of my divination. Hack, 64 mystical palms, he announced before moving in on Naruto before he could dodge. Neji rapidly called out the number of his strikes as he closed up Naruto's 64 primary tenketsu, halting his chakra flow, along with throwing him 20 feet away, where he rolled a few times in the dirt. Neji let a small smirk crawl onto his face as he walked up to Naruto. I have sealed off 64 of your tenketsu. You can no longer stand or channel chakra. Give up or I will be forced to eliminate you. Naruto coughed up a mouth full of blood and grinned up at Neji as the blood ran from the corners of his mouth, and he pushed himself up to his feet, grinning maniacally. Neji stepped back with wide, disbelieving eyes. That's impossible, he proclaimed. Naruto just smirked as a bit of blood dripped from his chin. Just like how surviving Tenten's attack was impossible? Nothing is impossible for me. Well, I didn't plan on having to show my biggest trump card, but my fooling around cost me. It's funny. You know how you said I don't know what it's like to be branded with a seal that alters my life? Neji nodded. Well, I lied. I know what it's like to have a seal change your life more than you can imagine. Allow me to demonstrate. Naruto took a deep breath and drew on a large amount of his dark chakra, forcing his tenketsu to explode open. The chakra quickly poured out of his body and began to assume his Yoriyaju form, startling Neji, who activated his Byakugan. Impossible. How can anyone have this much chakra, and for it to have no presence? Naruto achieved his full height and size, and up in the stands Ino Yamanaka instantly recognized the dark beast, and screamed out, that's the monster that slaughtered that IWA team in the forest. Everyone in the arena heard her proclamation and they stared at Naruto, wide-eyed. Naruto's enormous head snapped to Ino and his white eyes glared at her. So, someone did see me do that. He turned back to Neji, who was still staring in disbelief. What are you? He yelled out. Naruto grinned viciously, baring his long jagged teeth. Ancient myth would call me the Yoriyaju. The people of Konoha just like to call me demon though, he explained, in his chilling voice that sent shivers up everyone's spine, except Anko. Kurenai turned to Anko, both amazed and afraid. What the hell is that? She asked. Anko smirked slightly. We like to call it his Yoriyaju form. It's one of the reasons that pretty much no one can beat him. Beats my ass every time he uses it. Kurenai looked down in wonder as the gigantic beast that was Naruto dropped down onto all fours and spoke once more. Seeing as you're a shinobi of Konoha, I'll spare you the fate that I gave those Iwanins. But you're still gonna feel this for a few weeks. He pushed into the soft dirt of the arena floor and pushed off with his incredibly powerful legs and shot off at Neji at speeds the boy simply couldn't follow. Naruto reached Neji and reached back and slammed his open paw into Neji's gut, which sent the boy rocketing across the arena, where he slammed into the stadium wall with such force that an enormous crack ran up the length of the wall, and Neji was embedded into the concrete with blood steadily leaking from the corner of his mouth. Medics rushed out to obtain the broken Hyuga, and Naruto turned to the observation deck and took one empowered leap and shot up to the deck, where he landed, crushing the tiles under his feet. He then suppressed his dark chakra and was once again the same old human blonde. Everyone in the entire stadium stared at the blonde, the Hyuga, and the damage Naruto caused in shock. Most of the villagers that were there were completely terrified at the power the demon possessed, and all of the shinobi were amazed at the strength of the Jonin to crush the Hyuga's most skilled fighter like a plaything. The proctor, not wanting to face the wrath of Naruto for disqualifying him for leaving the arena early, raised his arm. Winner, Shikoto Naruto. Seeing how one of the fighters for the second match is not yet here, we will be skipping to the third match. Aburame Shino and Sabaku no Kankuro, please come down for your fight. Naruto scowled. Figures they would give the Uchiha extra time, bastards. Kankuro called out to the proctor, I surrender. I don't feel like fighting. A series of ahs and boos rung through the crowd, and the proctor nodded. Very well. Moving on to the third match then. Aburame Shino is victorious by default. Naro Shikamaru and Sabaku no Tamari, please come down. Tamari opened her fan, jumped onto it, and floated down to the dusty stadium floor, while Shikamaru groaned about fighting a girl. Naruto narrowed his eyes and walked up behind Shikamaru. Don't be such a lazy fuck. Get down there. He promptly grabbed a hold of Shikamaru's jacket and tossed him over the handrail and down into the stadium below. Shikamaru landed flat on his back in the stadium, and Winston Payne, son of a bitch, that broke at least 2 ribs. Damn it, Naruto. So troublesome. He slowly pushed himself up and faced off against the fierce Futen Kunoichi. Naruto huffed when Shikamaru gave up in the end. Could have at least let her kick your ass for entertainment, he grumbled to himself. Sasuke was given 5 extra minutes to arrive at the stadium, and even then only made it right as the proctor was announcing his disqualification. But they made an exception and allowed his fight to take place anyway. Naruto watched with mild disgust at Sasuke's copied form of Lee's taijutsu. Sure, he was getting past Gaara's defense at the moment, but it wouldn't last. Sasuke had rather low stamina, and wouldn't be able to sustain this speed for long, and when he tired, Gaara would crush more than just his arm and leg. Naruto was pretty stunned when Sasuke unleashed an arm full of lightning on Gaara's impenetrable defense. Chidori was the technique's apparent name, seeing as Sasuke called it out before driving it home into, and through, Gaara's shell of compressed sand. Gaara's voice could be heard throughout the stadium, confusion lacing his words. What is this warmth I feel? Blood? His voice suddenly took an extremely high tone, and he screamed out, blood! My blood! Sasuke charged more chakra to his Chidori and ripped it free of the shell and jumped away. But some kind of appendage chased him away. It was long and sand, but had strange coloring to the sand in small spots. It looked to be a clawed hand. Naruto overheard Gaara's siblings say something along the lines of, oh no, he's releasing it early. At that moment Naruto noticed white feathers slowly floating down across the stadium genjutsu. His mind realized, he formed the ram sign and quickly spiked his chakra kai. He yelled out. The next moment later there was an explosion of smoke up at the Kage's observation booth and 6 figures jumped up to the roof. Naruto sighed and instantly jumped up to the stadium seats and got over to Anko. He quickly noticed that all hell broke loose and Shinobi, Suna, Oto, and Konoha were battling all across the stadium. Naruto jumped behind Anko and ripped the throat out of an Otonin that was about to double-team her. Oi Anko, what should we do? He yelled out as he stood back to back with her. Anko looked around the stadium briefly. Let's thin down all of these shinobi for now, then we'll move from there. Naruto nodded and ran off. Oi Anko, watch after your student, he's running off alone. Kakashi called out as he knocked out a pair of Otonins. Anko smirked faintly as she plunged a kunai into the throat of another shinobi. He doesn't need my help, she replied. Naruto bounded towards some dumbass shinobi that was heading towards the incapacitated Jonin with a kunai and jumped up behind him, dug the talons in his boots into the shinobi's back, causing him to cry out in pain before he kicked off from his back, flipped over in front of him, and slit his throat with his claws. Once he hit the ground dead, Naruto ran off again. He was quickly getting covered with blood. Kakashi was stunned with his skill. What did you teach him, Anko? My god. Anko chuckled. You should have seen his fight with Neji. Poor kid didn't even stand a chance. Naruto toyed with him the whole time. Kakashi's eye widened. Neji, Hyuga Neji the genius? Anko smirked. Naruto. Go all out, take these fuckers out. She yelled to him. Naruto nodded. Got it, Anko. He channeled his dark chakra once again, and it quickly enveloped him, and he was his full-size Jiraiya form once again. Freaking out Kakashi to no end. What the hell did he do? He asked in surprise. Naruto narrowed his eyes at a shinobi a fair way across the arena and dropped down to all fours and ripped off after him as little more than a gigantic black blur. He came upon the unaware shinobi and backhanded him with his paw hard enough for the man's spine to snap in two, and he went sailing across the arena before smashing into an array of empty seats, definitely killing him. Kakashi, along with the rest of the shinobi in the stadium, were astounded by the speed at which Naruto was ripping through the ranks of Oto and Suna shinobi. None were even able to think of a way to assault him before they were annihilated by his brute strength and speed. In little time the stadium was cleared of enemy shinobi. Naruto regrouped with Anko, still in his Jiraiya form, and bent down significantly to be eye level with her. What's next? He asked. Anko was long used to his chilling voice. Anko thought for a moment that Gaara Kid and those two other Sunanins ran off. When shit went off, the Uchiha followed them. Track them down. The Uchiha is going to get destroyed out there alone. Naruto nodded and turned for the hole in the wall of the stadium, and launched himself off into the forest outside. Naruto quickly charged through the forest, smashing small saplings out of his way and dodging around large trees. He was quickly gaining on them. He passed by Abdurrahim, Shino and Kankuro fighting, but left them be. Naruto continued to charge after Sasuke and Gaara, and eventually he finally came upon what seemed to be the end of their fight. Sasuke was half covered in strange black markings and was in the process of collapsing from chakra exhaustion, and Gaara was covered from the calves up by that strange sand, and he had eyes that were pitch black with golden crosses for pupils. Naruto appeared right as Gaara was about to eliminate Sasuke and smashed him away with one massive paw. Naruto landed on a large branch in front of Sasuke and stood up on his hind legs, reaching his full height. Sasuke looked up at him in amazement and muttered what the hell, before passing out cold. Gaara quickly re-cooperated and glared at Naruto before it clicked and he started yelling, "You! Shikudo, why have you stopped me from my kill?" Naruto shrugged his enormous shoulders. "My orders," he replied. Gaara's head cocked back for a second in surprise before blowing another gasket. "If you won't let me prove my existence by killing the Uchiha, then I'll just have to kill you." He reached forward with one enormous arm and it suddenly shot forward at Naruto. Naruto wasn't expecting such an attack and barely got his arm up in time to divert the blow, but he still got knocked back off his branch. He leapt backwards and launched himself off of a particularly large tree, and rocketed towards Gaara before slamming his right shoulder into him full force, sending the miniature sand demon flying through a number of small trees. Gaara once again regained control over himself, and roared in anger, "How dare you! If you want to die so badly, I'll show you a true demon." Argh! Gaara suddenly exploded into a gigantic cloud of smoke that went up multiple hundreds of feet into the air, and took up a large amount of space. This can't be good, Naruto thought. The smoke cleared to reveal a gigantic beast, made up of the same colored sand that Gaara had been using before. It looked like some kind of amalgamation of animal, but one thing was sure, things were about to get difficult. Gaara's small form appeared on the forehead of the gigantic beast, and he called out, "Prepare to die, Shikuto. Face the wrath of the Ichibi." He formed a hand sign for sleep jutsu, he called out, before collapsing forward. "Ichibi? He's a Jinchuriki?" Naruto thought, "Oh shit, I'm fighting the Ichibi." A shrill, high-pitched laugh rang out through the forest. "Yeah. Ekahahaha. I'm free. Look, there's a village to destroy and everything. So lucky." Naruto paled. "Not good. If that thing gets to Kanahori, fucked." He drew on more of his dark chakra, more than he ever had before. He did, after all, have all of Kyuubi's chakra at his disposal. "More. I need more," he yelled to himself as he drew upon even more, and his size grew larger and larger, and his one black tail split into two, then three, and more as his size grew. Naruto finally stopped drawing on even more chakra when he was the same size as Shikaku, with 7 tails of solid darkness waving about behind him lazily. "Time for you to go back in your seal," he stated, in an even deeper and more powerful voice than before. Shikaku took a step back in surprise, flattening a group of trees. "Who the hell are you? You're not the 7-tailed Bijou," he yelled out. Naruto smirked slightly. "Man, I wish I knew I could make myself larger just by drawing on more chakra earlier. To be exact, I'm the Kyuubi's replacement." Shikaku's eyes widened slightly. The Kyuubi was always the most evil and vicious of the 9 Bijou, not to mention by far the strongest. He wouldn't stand a chance. "I'll give you one chance. Go back into your seal and go away, or I will be forced to make you regret it." Shikaku closed its eyes. There was no way he was going back in the seal without a fight. He slammed his fist into his stomach and expelled a giant burst of wind at Naruto. "Air bullet!" he screeched. Naruto's eyes widened at the sight of the attack and he jumped to the side, just narrowly dodging the attack. "I warned you," he said before leaping at Shikaku and slamming into the giant sand demon. Naruto's weight threw Shikaku off balance, and the two slammed into the earth, shaking the very ground below them like an earthquake. Naruto dug his immense talons into Shikaku's body and began ripping entire chunks of sand off of him, and sent them lobbing through the air, Shikaku all the while howling in pain. Shikaku eventually threw Naruto off of him, and stood to his feet once again. chunks of his body visibly missing. Naruto sighed. Just go back into the seal, Shikaku. I don't want to kill you and your container, he roared, but his pleading fell upon deaf ears as Shikaku sent another volley of air bullets at him. Naruto narrowed his eyes and nimbly dodged the attacks. Seems like I'm going to have to do this the hard way, arg, he thought. He quickly pushed off on all fours and dashed at Shikaku, his speed and agility getting the better of the slow sand demon. Naruto clamped his enormous jaws down on Shikaku's right arm and viciously ripped it off, and tossed it hundreds of feet away, before ramming into Shikaku and knocking him back and off balance. As Shikaku was stumbling backwards, Naruto launched himself into the air towards Shikaku and rapidly began suppressing his chakra, and he quickly shrank down in size until he was his regular, 8.5-foot tall form. He landed right between Shikaku's eyes and bolted up his face, up to his forehead where Gaara's sleeping form lay. Naruto growled as he approached Gaara and knocked him upside the hide with a huge paw, waking the boy up. Gaara scowled at Naruto and formed the ram seal, and sand began to crawl slowly up his legs. Naruto looked down at the sand and shook his head. Oh hell no, he bellowed before backhanding Gaara hard enough to dislodge him from Shikaku's body and sending him flying off into the air, where he landed on the top of a tree, then fell through the branches and hit the unforgiving ground beneath, knocking the fight out of him. Naruto jumped off the top of the quickly dissolving sand body and landed on the ground with a minor tremor, cracking the earth and leaving deep imprints of his feet. He slowly stalked over towards Gaara, when his siblings suddenly jumped before him as Naruto approached, ready to defend him. Get the hell away from Gaara. We won't let you hurt him further, Temari yelled while brandishing her fan. Naruto stopped walking and looked between Temari, Kankuro, and Gaara for a minute before sighing and locking up his dark chakra, and once again the blonde stood before them. Your luck, you know, Gaara? You may have thought that you were always alone, but you've had your siblings to help you your whole life. I've been alone since day one. It's funny how two people, who share similar burdens, can lead such different lives. Temari looked at Naruto with wide eyes. You mean, your age in Shuriki? Naruto finished. Yeah, I've got the QB in me. You're a lucky person, Gaara. Until I met my Jonin sensei, there wasn't a single person in my village who would care if I died. Actually, most would probably prefer if I died. Hell, they sure tried enough times. Cherish the few you have, Gaara. You never know when they could be gone. Naruto slowly turned away from the Suna trio and walked away, leaving Kankuro and Temari to pick up Gaara and carry him away. Naruto ran across the wasteland he and Shikaku had created in their battle and soon found Sasuke's unconscious body. Well, at least he didn't get crushed. He grabbed Sasuke's dead weight and slung him over his shoulder before he started to make his way towards Konoha. Naruto hadn't been walking for 5 minutes when Sakura, Ikatsu and some tiny pug dog almost ran right past him before stopping and turning to him. What did you do to Sasuke-kun? Sakura screamed. Naruto scowled at the brainless twit. And she's supposed to be the smartest person in the academy. I didn't do shit. Gaara beat the hell out of him, and I saved his life. Would you have preferred me to leave him get killed? Here, take your useless teammate. He pulled Sasuke off of his shoulder and tossed him at Sakura, who attempted to catch him and fell backwards on her butt. Naruto scowled at her weakness. What the hell were you doing out here anyway? He asked her. Sakura narrowed her eyes at the blonde. Kakashi-sensei sent us and Pakken to help Sasuke. Naruto eyed the tiny pug and her male teammate. He's a fool. You would have been killed if I didn't get there first. Ikatsu glared at Naruto. Hey, don't underestimate us. We would have been fine, with or without your help. Naruto sighed. Whatever. I'm going back to the village. I'm sure the battle is still raging, and I have work to do. He promptly turned away from them and launched himself in the direction of Konoha, leaving them amazed at his speed, and in the middle of the forest. Naruto arrived at Konoha 10 minutes later and found the stadium in ruins. There were signs of battle all over the place, and dead Oto and Suna shinobi were piled in the arena in the center. Naruto couldn't hear any sounds of battle anywhere close inside. He then spotted a large group of shinobi gathered on the yellow-tiled roof of a nearby building. What the heck? He thought before jumping up top and walking over. Naruto walked up to the group of shinobi and wormed his way through the crowd to see what everyone was looking at and was stunned when he reached the front of the crowd. There lying before them all was the lifeless body of the Sandaime Hokage, in his black battle gear and all. Naruto's eyes widened at the sight. Damn, he got killed? That's a surprise. Keep in mind, Naruto isn't that fond of the Hokage in this story. Eventually all of the shinobi were ordered to leave and a number of Anbu carried away Sarutobi's corpse. As they were parting, Naruto walked up beside Anko. So, seems like I missed most of the good fights, huh? I can't hear any more fights in the village. Anko smiled sadly. Unlike Naruto, she did like the aged Hokage, and quite a lot at that. What happened with Gaara? Naruto shrugged. I defeated him, and gave him some advice. Hopefully he will turn out alright. Anko's eyes widened slightly at the news he just delivered. You mean you let him go? Are you sure that's a good idea? Naruto shrugged again. Honestly? I don't know, he's pretty messed up in the head from whatever. He's a Jinchuriki like me, the Ichibi. I just hope what I told him gets through to him. Anko nodded. Well, it's too late to do anything about it now. I just hope you're right. Naruto nodded as well. Yeah, plus if he does come back, I'll just have to kick his ass again. The Ichibi wasn't too hard to take down. Anko's eyes bulged at the news. The Ichibi? You fought the Ichibi? She asked. Naruto smirked. He wasn't so tough, just took a bit of extra dark chakra to take him down. So how did Hokage Samalos? Anko's expression changed instantly as her eyes narrowed and she grit her teeth in anger. Orochimaru, she ground out. Naruto sighed. He had a guess that was the cause of it. Yet another reason for him to die, he growled. Anko's expression softened at the memory of her past, and her now deceased leader. Naruto noticed this and frowned. He slung an arm over her slightly taller shoulders and shook her gently. Come on, let's get some dango, my treat, he offered in an attempt to cheer her up. His idea worked as she turned her head to him and smiled slightly. Since you're buying. Naruto grinned and shook her slightly again before releasing her. Alright. Let's go then. He cheered. Before leading the way to Anko's favorite dango shop. As they walked through the village, Naruto noticed most of the civilian population returning to their homes and businesses now that the battles were over. He was surprised by the lack of severe damage to the village. The only heavily damaged area was a location where a massive snake summon smashed through the village wall and began to destroy the area. As they arrived at the dango shop, Naruto was happy to see it wasn't damaged any. In fact, the owner had already returned, although there were no customers yet for obvious reasons. As they approached the shop, the owner sighed. He didn't particularly like the trader, and he despised the demon, but they were his best two customers by far. The usual? He asked. Naruto nodded slightly. Please, he responded. The owner nodded and turned towards the back. Just a minute, he said. Naruto and Anko waited, and a few minutes later the owner returned with 4 small styrofoam containers, each containing 3 sticks of the sweet dumplings. Naruto and Anko quickly snatched up the containers before the other could grab all 4, and Naruto paid for them before leaving. They left the shop, containers in hand, and each opened on while they walked and began eating some of their dango. As they were walking, they passed one of the training grounds that doubled as a park when not in use, or under repair. To Naruto's great surprise, Anko snatched his arm and pulled him out onto the grassy field and pulled him down to sit beside her under a decently large tree. He turned to her, slightly confused, and noticed a look of a mixture of uncertainty and nervousness. Anko, you okay? He asked. Anko nodded slowly and took a deep breath. Yeah, Naruto, I wanted to tell you about myself. More specifically, my past. Naruto's eyes shot fully open at those words. Anko's past was always an extremely sore subject for her, that was always avoided like the plague, and refusal to drop the subject would earn one injuries. Lots of injuries. Why now? You always hated talking about your past, he said. Anko sighed. Because you deserve to know about me. I know all about you, while I've left you in the dark. You saved my life, there's no one I trust more than you, she admitted. Naruto nodded slowly, quite honored to have her say such a thing about him. He noted she was quite nervous about the whole thing. Whenever you're ready, he assured. Anko smiled, thankful for his understanding, and nodded. I guess I should start at the beginning. My family was never anyone special. My father was a Chunin, and my mother a civilian. We weren't a clan, or anyone special. When I was in my final year of the academy, they were both killed. The killer was never found, but I know who did it now. I had always idolized Orochimaru. He was so strong, and smart. He was the strongest of the Sannin, and knew how to handle himself in any situation ever. You could imagine how ecstatic I was then when he offered to adopt me and raise me as his apprentice. I eagerly accepted, of course, who would deny that? I learned a lot under him, and he was like a father to me. When I graduated from the academy, I got him as a Jonin sensei. Life couldn't get any better, so I thought. About 2 years after I became a genin, he began having me do these strange tasks. At the time I didn't question him, being my sensei. What a fool I was. He gave me special training that my teammates weren't involved in. He had me pick up citizens of Konoha and drop them off to him. He said he was testing a new type of medicine that could speed up the healing of injuries. Of course I wanted to help. About 6 months after that, they introduced me to his labs as an experiment. He started doing things to me, performing experiments and tests. They hurt so much, and gave me nightmares from then on. But I didn't question him. He was my sensei, my god. About a year after that, news got out about his experiments, and what he was doing to his experiments, and he was forced to flee the village because of the Sandaime. I didn't want to leave, but he convinced me it was what we had to do, that I would be killed if I stayed. A few weeks after running, I decided I didn't want to stay on the run, that I wanted to go back to Konoha. He told me I was a disgrace and branded me with a curse seal that he developed and left me to die. About a week later, I was found by a genin squad and their Jonin from Konoha. They captured me, not that I resisted, and took me back to Konoha to stand trial and be executed. When we arrived at Konoha, I was taken to prison and interrogated and tortured for information. I told them everything I knew about Orochimaru, everything I ever learned from him, but they didn't stop. It wasn't until the Sandaime ordered my release, saying that I was just a pawn of Orochimaru's, that I was finally let go. I was suspended from the force for 2 years to ensure my loyalty before finally coming back as a Chunin. But things were never the same again. Ever treated me just like Orochimaru, that I was a traitor, leaking him information. I was scowled and sneered at everywhere I went. The council made my life a living hell, trying to get me killed on high-ranked missions and refusing my taking of the Jonin exams. After a few years, Sarutobi-sama finally allowed me to become a Tokubetsu Jonin because of my skills. That's when I met Kurenai. She was my first and only friend. From there I just existed. I didn't really live, I just did my job and did what I had to. Every night I have nightmares about the things Orochimaru made me do what he did to me. Then I met you and I don't know why, but everything changed. You were just like me, everyone hated you for something that you had no control or choice over. And things just happened. When you became my apprentice, my nightmares just stopped, and I actually got a good night's sleep for the first time in 7 years. As her story winded down, she was nearly in tears, which in itself startled Naruto. Naruto himself, though, was beyond furious. His fists were balled up and white-knuckled with blood dripping steadily onto the grass below from his nails digging into his palms. His skin was an ashy gray color from him unconsciously beginning to channel his dark chakra, and his eyes were a glowing sliver/gray color. Those bastards, he hissed out in a slightly altered voice, how dare they do that to you? He screamed, startling Anko, along with every bird in the training ground. Anko looked at Naruto's slightly transformed state and her eyes widened slightly. Naruto? Naruto! Calm down! She yelled. Naruto's knuckles cracked as his fist tightened further, and he growled deeply. Orochimaru, I will kill you! He declared as he slowly calmed down. Anko looked at him, amazed at how angry he got from her story. Does he really care that much? She thought. Once Naruto calmed down completely, he looked at Anko and saw the stunned and surprised expression she was sporting, and his look changed to that of concern. No, Anko, are you okay? Anko nodded slowly to him. Why, yeah. I was just surprised by your reaction. No one's ever cared so much about me, not even Kurenai. Naruto frowned. What? Of course I care about you, Anko. Realizing what he just said, his mouth slammed shut, and a dim red blush crawled across his cheeks. Anko's eyes widened slightly and a small mirthful laugh escaped her lips. It wasn't often one found themselves in the presence of an embarrassed Shikuto. Naruto. Naruto? She asked, both in innocent and nervous tone. Do you like me? She asked cautiously. Naruto looked slightly confused, not quite grasping the meaning of Anko's true question. Of course I like you, he said adamantly. Sure, you're energetic and different, but that's what makes you you. Plus I like you, you're not like anyone else, you always know what's really going on behind the scene. Without you, I never would have gotten anywhere near as far as I have with your help. I have to agree with what you said, he didn't feel alive, I suppose, until I met you. You were someone similar to me. You knew what it was like to be looked down upon by everyone, even if I didn't know why until just now. I don't know why, but it's like you. I dunno, complete me or something, corny as that sounds. Anko turned to him and looked him straight in the face. I don't think that sounds corny at all. In fact, I think that is a perfect description for us. We complete each other. We each represent something that the other wanted and needed, someone who understood our situations, and could be there for each other. She trailed off, not feeling confident in her own experience in relationships, which was non-existent. Naruto thought for a moment before nodding to himself. Okay, so what does that mean? Where does that leave us? He asked, realizing that this conversation had at some point switched to their relationship, rather than Anko's past. Anko, deciding that actions would much better convey her emotions than words could, leaned over and planted a simple kiss on Naruto's cheek. The moment Anko's soft lips brushed across Naruto's cheeks, aside from shivering at the soft touch to his whisker marks, which were apparently very sensitive, he froze stock still, and a bright red blush instantly erupted across his face, causing him to rival a tomato. Anko pulled back from the small kiss, blushing as well, though not quite as powerfully as Naruto was. Naruto? She asked when she saw him still frozen up. Are you okay? She asked. Naruto slowly came back to earth and slowly nodded. Why, yeah, I'm alright. What was that for, Anko? He asked, wanting to know just what she meant by that kiss. Anko frowned, officially fed up with his denseness. I like you, damn it. She finally yelled in frustration. A lot, she added in a whisper, though he heard it easily with their close proximity. Naruto was substantially stunned. Sure, he had grown to like Anko quite a lot over the time they'd been working together. She was the first person to ever truly tolerate him, and get along with him even. He wasn't anywhere near sure of what his feelings for her was, as he never had a girl be nice to him before. He'd never had anyone be nice to him before. He was unsure if what he was experiencing was what Anko was experiencing, and he really didn't want to make her upset by having his feelings turn out to be something she wasn't looking for. He was completely confused. Anko, he said softly, catching her attention. I like you too, a lot. I just never had anyone care about me before. I don't know if what I feel is the same that you feel. Should I be liking you more than I already do? Or should I feel different? I'm just not sure. I hate being completely in the dark about anything emotional. It pisses me off, he answered honestly. Fortunately, Anko knew what he was going through. She probably would have been just as confused as he was if not for her friendship with Kurenai. She knew the difference between just being friends and being something more. Unfortunately, Naruto didn't, and she really didn't want to be the one to have to explain just how you need to feel to like someone to that extent, to the person that she liked to that extent. I see, she said in an even tone. Well then, I guess we'll just take it from here. You have all the time in the world to think about it anyway. I'm not trying to rush to any conclusions, or force your decision. Now enough with this mushy shit. Let's beat the crap out of each other, she proclaimed in an upbeat voice as she sent her final dango stick launching out into the training grounds field. Naruto smirked and nodded and got up from his seat at the bottom of the tree, Anko mimicking his movements. The two separated and walked until they were approximately 20 feet apart before both simultaneously engaging their weapons, be it hidden kunai, or claws and talons. They then proceeded to smirk sadistically and charge at each other. The next afternoon found everyone gathered in the center of the village for the announcement of who of the genin of Konoha were going to be promoted to Chunin. They were all very excited, of course. It's not every day you make it to the next step of your various dreams in life. Naruto and Anko were standing together, and Kurenai was beside Anko with her team just a few feet away from her. Naruto wasn't very optimistic about the outcome of this announcement for himself at least, as he and Anko had discussed the night before. With the decision for who becomes Chunin left to the council with the Hokage's passing, he was most likely not going to be promoted. Koharu and Hamaru, the Sandame's ex-teammates and advisors of the council, walked to the front of the stage, with the aging warhawk that was Danzo just behind them. Koharu took up the role of addressing the crowd and spoke loudly. Citizens and shinobi of Konoha, we stand here today both in victory and in defeat. We defeated the traitor Orochimaru's invasion and drove the Suna shinobi away, but at a great cost. Sarutobi Hiruzen, our great Sandame Hokage, passed on in his fight with Orochimaru. But it is not yet time to mourn his loss. We need to celebrate his victory in running Orochimaru off. We stand here today to honor those who were lost in the invasion, and also to make an announcement. It is this council's decision to not promote any of the participants in the Chunin exam to Chunin rank. We believe that none of the precise skills were demonstrated that are desirable traits, and the blatant irresponsibility of some of the genins. A pointed glare was sent at Naruto at this point. Has solidified our choice in that the participating genin would benefit from further mentoring under their current Jonin sensei. Naruto and Anko shared a knowing glance while most of the genin were looking extraordinarily pissed. Told you so, Naruto said to Anko. Anko stuck out her tongue at him. Yeah. So you were right. Let's get the hell out of here then, these big gatherings annoy me. Naruto grinned and the two left. They didn't get very far though before Kurenai, who had overheard them, appeared before them. What do you mean you told her so? You knew no one was going to be a Chunin? Anko sighed and Naruto cocked his head to the side. Well, yeah. It was pretty easy to guess. The only genin that showed any chance of a promotion was Shikamaru, but he's too lazy. They want someone that actually cares about his career. Then of course there's me, mid to high Jonin level. I single-handedly saved the village from destruction from the Ichibi no Tanuki, but I'm Konoha's demon, so I'll never be promoted. That leaves nobody else. Kurenai was once again surprised by his explanation. It was very true, but Ichibi no Tanuki. What are you talking? There was no Bijou present, she said. Naruto frowned. Well, I suppose most people wouldn't know about it. Gaara of Suna. He was the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi no Tanuki. He unleashed the full demon in the forests outside of Konoha. If I hadn't gone after him, Uchiha Sasuke would be dead and gone, and so would most of Konoha, he answered with a faint smirk. Kurenai's eyes widened once again. Why does it seem I'm lied to about everything involving him? Wow, that's quite an achievement, she said. Naruto shrugged. Meh, Ichibi's a pushover. He waved off the praise. He thinks a Bijou was a pushover? Just how strong is this boy? He could probably take out most of Konoha if he wanted. Then she thought, well, thank you for telling me. Enjoy your afternoon, I suppose, she said before turning and leaving the two alone. Naruto looked to Anko and shrugged. Okay then. Anko just laughed, and the two left the village square. A few hours later, to both Naruto and Anko's surprise, Jiraiya jumped down into the path before them from the rooftops. What do you want now? Naruto asked. Jiraiya frowned. Maybe I shouldn't even offer you to join me then if you're going to greet me like that. Naruto and Anko spared glances at each other, and Anko turned to Jiraiya. Join you where? For what? Jiraiya grinned. To get the next Hokage, of course. I've been selected to go find the person they've decided on being the next Hokage. I figured it would be a good chance for me to try and get to know the Gaki a bit. Plus I figured I could teach him a bit. Naruto looked to Anko, who just grinned and made a shooing motion. Go on. Get out of here, she said. But, if you come back without anything to show for it, you will be paying, got it? She demanded. Naruto and Jiraiya both gulped and nodded before Jiraiya nudged Naruto's side. Get your gear and meet me at the north gate then. Pack for 2 to 3 weeks. Naruto nodded and Jiraiya took off. Anko looked at him for a moment before cocking her head to the side. Shouldn't you be getting packed? She asked. In a movement that surprised Anko, Naruto quickly moved forward and wrapped his arms around her in a brief hug before realizing her. What was that for? She said in surprise. Naruto shrugged. I dunno, I see people do it to each other. I think it's to show you care about them. I figured I won't be back for 2 to 3 weeks. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Anko smiled and nodded. Well, thanks. Good luck in finding whoever is going to be the new Hokage. I'll miss you, she said. Naruto nodded and smiled in return. I'll miss you too, he said before walking off towards his apartment. What if Naruto runs the criminal underworld? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel. And leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.